Designer David Brodner in Brooklyn today. By your local Ford dealers for great deals on Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. Visit buyfordnow.com. And by Papa John's. Enjoy the quality pizza you've come to expect from your local Papa John's. Nice to see Noah having a good time. Sorry, fanatic. Purchase your 2019 Mets season ticket package today. Choose from full season, half season, or 20-game plans that include opening day and the Subway Series. Plus, for a limited time, receive an authentic or replica Mets jersey with your purchase. Purchase your plan today at Mets.com/ticket plans. Here's your Rocket Mortgage breakdown. Mets have won 11 of 17 from the Phillies this year. 7th straight year they've won the season series from the Phils. Ahmed Rosario's had a good time against the Phils. Michael Conforto has more home runs against the Phillies than he's hit against any team in his career. And so it goes as the Mets continue to dominate their neighbors to the south. I hope your vehicle's okay. Sometimes it's just not your day. First pitch coming right up. Aaron Nola has had himself a Cy Young caliber year, but probably trailing Jacob deGrom right now as he heads into his final 3 starts of the year. Nola has struggled over his last 3. deGrom will get the ball over the weekend against the Nationals in his next start. He's got 2 to go. Maybe 3 if he can force his way into a start the last day of the season.
You know, I think Nola's running out of gas. 168 innings pitched last year. He's at 193 already. He allowed 8 home runs over his first 27 starts, 7 in his last 3.
And his ERA over those 3 starts is 5.60. The Mets will try and keep him down tonight with this Geico Mets starting lineup. Jeff McNeil coming off yet another 3-hit game last night. Conforto with the 6 RBIs, a career high last night. Dominic Smith gets another start at first base. Jay Bruce, though, should be starting most of the games at first the rest of the way after tonight. He'll be in right field tonight as Mickey Callaway tries to put together his best offensive lineup to try and take down Nola tonight.
Well, as we're trying to bounce past all you folks at home into a bad start by Nola, take this into account. His last 6 games against the Mets, he's last starts against the Mets, he's 5-0 with a 1.85. Those are his Toyota numbers for the year. He is outstanding in this ballpark. 12-3 this year, 17-5 in 26 career starts. And the defense, I think the people you want to look for, J.P. Crawford started the season as shortstop. Kingery is a second baseman. He's now become the shortstop. Crawford moves over to third base. Alfaro's got the great arm behind the plate. And out in the outfield, Roman Quinn gives them a lot of speed and better outfield defense in the middle between Aaron Altair and Rhys Hoskins.
As Drupal Cabrera out of the lineup tonight, strained a calf last night. I'm just impressed we got the defense in before the first pitch.
Oh,
Something radical has changed from last night. I think we got to it, what, in the 8th inning?
Well, we got a new producer today. This guy knows what he's doing.
Ooh. Well, also the game is starting several minutes late.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Nola's already at 201 strikeouts this year. First Philly to reach 200 since 2013 when they had guys like Cliff Lee and Cole Hamels clear the 200 plateau. While we're waiting on Nola, I think it's worth talking about Zach Wheeler last night because we talked during the game about the possibility that it might be Zach's last start of the season. And I think that looks like a pretty sure bet now. Mets haven't announced it yet, but it looks like they're going to come to the conclusion that the unbelievable second half that Zach has put together is enough, especially with the huge jump in innings from last year.
I'm usually the contrarian to these decisions because I feel that every inning you put in your pocket this year adds up to innings that you can add to next year. But he's had a great year. He missed those 2 seasons, 2.5 seasons, really. He set a career high in 12 victories last night with his win. A good time to take it to the house.
3.31 ERA, so he's in the top 10 in the league in ERA. He's also in the top 10 in the league in strikeouts, which is remarkable when you think about where he came from the first 2 months of the season. Ahmed Rosario will lead things off against Nola. Rosario 1 for 4 last night, drove in a run, hitting .327 over his last 34 games, and Nola's first pitch of the night is low and away for ball 1, and we're underway.
What makes Nola so difficult? The very deceptive windup, lots of arms and legs at you, great control with his fastball, and a wipeout breaking ball.
And he fires a fastball by Rosario, a ball and a strike. Nola now 25 years old, first round pick out of LSU in 2014, the 7th overall pick. Really emerged last year, finished 12-11, ERA just over 3.5, and he took it to a whole nother level this year as the Phillies ace. And he misses just off the plate 2-1. And it's interesting that he became the ace this year when the Phillies imported Jake Arrieta, who was supposed to be the ace. And Nola took a huge step forward, while Arrieta has just had a so-so kind of a year. Jeff McNeil on deck, then Michael Conforto, and the curveball. There you see that great breaker, and it's 2-2.
You know, he has the ability to throw that on any count, as you saw there, 2-1. It has almost a double break. It'll come out of his hand spinning, and then it'll take a quick left turn. I mean, until you've seen it in the box, it doesn't matter how much video you watch of Aaron Nola.
And when you talk about curveballs, you often talk about guys who throw 12-6, 11-5. His, on the other hand, has more horizontal break than any other curveball in the game.
The only one I can equate it to is Corey Kluber for the Cleveland Indians. Same kind of horizontal break.
3-2 to Rosario leading off. And the curveball strikes him out. And Nola begins his night with a punch-out.
Well, 3-2 pitch. We saw the 2-1 breaking ball, the 3-2 breaking ball, both fooling the young Ahmed Rosario. We saw him last night. Remember when he got in that big RBI situation? He was chasing that Neris fork ball in the dirt, chasing again here against a good breaking ball of Nola.
So now it's Jeff McNeil, 3 hits last night, including a double and an RBI. McNeil's 7th game of 3 hits or more since he was called up in July. that ties a Mets rookie record for most 3-hit games after the All-Star break. David Wright had 7 3-hit games second half of the year, his rookie year in 2004. So McNeil starting to get into that territory, the David Wright territory. He nubs one slowly, might be tough for Crawford. Gloves and can't make the play. And McNeil is safe. That ball had a lot of spin on it, and as Crawford attempted to pick it up, it spun away.
Well, it's a play that the only way it can be made, and he didn't catch it clean in the pocket. That's why the transfer wasn't good. If you're a good third baseman, you come down with both hands. Both hands catch the ball at the same time, and the throw comes out of that. Not one hand and the transfer.
McNeil will get credit for a base hit, so the hits just keep on coming for Jeff. That's his 61st. He gets them of all shape and sizes. And
it's hard to judge.
How can you help but smile when you get 30-foot hits? So here's Conforto coming off his huge night last night. Single, double, 3-run homer, drove in 6 for the first time in his career. It's only the second time this year the Mets have had a player drive in 6 or more, and both games have come here in Philadelphia. The other 6+ RBI game was for a guy who was playing for the Mets then and is playing for the Phillies now. Jose Bautista drove in 7 in that 24-4 first game of a doubleheader back in August. Conforto takes the curve for a strike, 1-1. StatCast AI powered by Amazon Web Services.
That was this year?
That was just a month ago.
Really?
Remember, that was the Facebook game.
Are you sure?
The one where Nimmo went down in the batter's box. Remember that?
I do. I do.
1-1 to Conforto. He's got 26 home runs now, which amazingly is now just 1 shy of his total from last year. Think about the fact that Michael had 11 home runs at the All-Star break, 15 now since the break.
Let's really hone in on, guys, how Nola tries to get him out here in the first inning. See if it changes with each successive at bat.
McNeil at first and 1 out. And Conforto swings over the curveball, and it's 1-2. And so far, Nola's got a really good curve.
Yeah, he's saving his best one for Conforto. This is usually the curveball he'll use to strike you out. Because of the fear of Conforto and how hot he is, he used it on the 1-1 count. When he has his big games, it's that fastball in that comes back over the plate. Let's see if he's got that working today against left-handed hitters.
5 starts against the Mets this year. Nola is 4-0 with a 1.97 ERA, trying to become the first pitcher to beat the Mets 5 times in a season since Larry Christensen in 1976, also a Philly. He jams Conforto and fly down the left field line. Hoskins into foul ground, but he'll run out of room. In fact, there have been 2 Phillies who've beaten the Mets 5 times in a season. Christensen in 1976. The other one, Jim Bunning, 1964.
Wow. Did he throw the perfect game that year?
The third of his 5 wins against the Mets that year was the Father's Day perfect game.
Well, appropriately up on the bricks. You make the bricks here. I like that.
Wall of Fame. And that's close, but McNeil gets the hand back in.
That was a good move by Nola. And this is my advice for all big, tall, right-handed power pitchers. Develop a good move. That'll make them more fearful than anything else you can do at first base. We saw it, was it last night's game? A left-handed first baseman might have made it a little easier to make that tag. Gabe Kapler, the manager of the Phillies, is holding up action, and he wants to take a look.
Now they're going to challenge the call.
Early challenge.
Well, we've seen Kapler do a lot of things early that most managers have not been accustomed to. Pinch hitting in the second inning, defensive changes in the second inning.
Boy, that's as close as it gets. If Santana could have got that to his ribs or shoulder quicker, it might have been better. He tagged him right on the back.
Question is, were his fingers up or his fingers down to get the hand back in?
I'm with you.
And there's some space there.
Yeah.
He might have gotten him.
He might have gotten him. Again, that left-handed first baseman, that play wouldn't have been close. But the play is under review.
So Kapler rolling out the challenge in the first inning, and he might have a case.
Nola's taking some warm-up pitches, so maybe Noah Syndergaard can watch that. I know Nola in his Syndergaard in his last start had a pickoff, and really learn from that. That maybe this winter, while he's working, maybe the last 20 throws he makes are on improving his move to first base.
Well, it certainly would appear from that as though there's space between McNeil's hand and the bag, and that the tag is on him. Tom Hallion and Bill Miller are the crew chiefs in the replay center in Chelsea this week.
The space between. This could get a better look, but whatever.
Every game, and thus every call, of utmost importance to the Phillies, who are teetering on the brink. The Braves come into the night with a magic number of 7 for clinching the National League East. They played tonight at home against the Cardinals. Well, the Braves have lost 3 straight. The Phillies have fallen on such hard times they haven't been able to take advantage, and looks like we might have a rendering. And they do not overturn the call. Now, I don't understand that. I thought that shot that we had provided a definitive view that McNeil was out. So Kapler has lost his challenge for the remainder of the game with 1 out in the top of the first inning.
I have no comment. Everyone is trying really hard to get it right, and we're not.
It's like flipping a coin.
We're not.
It's flipping a coin. So it's a 1-2 count to Conforto, and he takes strike 3 called, and that's the second out.
We always talk about the pitcher, don't we, in that instance? Playing a review all that time to throw some extra pitches, be ready to pitch. Is the hitter always ready to hit? That ball kind of down the middle. Nice job by Alfaro framing on the outside part of the plate, but a pitch usually Conforto would not take.
So now 2 out. McNeil still at first, and here's Jay Bruce playing right field tonight. Jay pinch hit last night and drew a walk after DHing the last 2 games in Boston. So it's been a while since Jay has had some time at first base, where they're trying to get a read on whether he can play the position well enough to count on him being part of the plan there next year. But he hasn't played much. However, Mickey Callaway said today that after tonight he will probably play most of the games at first base the rest of the way. 11 games to go after tonight, and he takes the first pitch curveball for a strike.
I never understand. I know it really helps us in the broadcast. I'm sure it helps the people who write day to day and follow the team. I never understand why that is ever talked about, why we need to know that, because you know what affects the most is your young player on the bench that will find that out tomorrow, or maybe tonight if he's watching.
Bruce flies one down the left side. That'll go foul.
You know what I'm saying? Why would you say that? There's no reason to say that. Just do it and tell your young player to come in and you have a conversation with him. Just do it. There's no reason to tell you, me, the media, nobody.
Unless he's already had that conversation.
Even if he's had it, don't have it. It's embarrassing for him.
It's a difficult situation because you're trying to figure out whether Bruce can be a first baseman, but you're also trying to figure out whether Dom Smith can play in the big leagues. So you've got a small window to try and do both those things. Yeah. 0-2 coming to Bruce, and he takes the fastball off the plate, 1-2. And then you've got Peter Alonso sitting in the wings, going to the Arizona Fall League and thinking, where am I in this conversation?
Where do I get an apartment in Scottsdale? That's what he's thinking about.
Nola working at a much slower pace than we're accustomed to seeing from him. I wonder if that has anything to do with his recent troubles.
Well, you know, we certainly don't know that, but he's always been a very quick worker. 6 of the 7 home runs he's given up in his last 4 starts have been solos. So maybe he feels as though, you know, he's been rushing himself a little and not really paying attention to each pitch.
And he strikes out Bruce with a fastball, so Nola strikes out 3 in the inning to work around McNeil's infield hit. Steven Matz takes the mound when we come back. There tonight against Steven Matz. That's because Dribble Cabrera is banged up with a calf problem. Roman Quinn hits 3rd in the order. It's the first time in his career he's ever hit 3rd. So Gabe Kapler going with a little different look against Steven Matz tonight.
Well, Matz's last start, as you see his Land Rover numbers, was 6 1/3 innings, 3 runs he gave up, got a no decision, back-to-back home runs he gave up in that game. But he looked sharp other than those 2 pitches. And of course, thrill of a lifetime, his first home run.
Cesar Hernandez leading off for the Phillies. The most important thing for Matz lately, he's been able to get himself settled early in games. 4 straight starts he's gone without allowing a first inning run.
And his ERA still over 8, right? In the first inning. So whenever you have something that is troubling all season, you can fix it at the end. That's a good thing.
Fastball misses high to Hernandez, 3-1. Hernandez, Hoskins, and Quinn for the Phillies. Matz only faced the Phillies once in his career before this season, but now he's making his 4th start this year against Philadelphia, and he is working at a very rapid pace.
You never have to worry about that with him. Sometimes too fast.
Ball 4 to Hernandez, and so the Phillies have a leadoff base runner.
Oh, we're going to defense in the first inning for both. Plawecki gets a start behind the plate. Dominic Smith, you and I talked about that before. Ahmed Rosario and McNeil turned a beautiful double play yesterday, 4-6-3. Austin Jackson out, Brandon Nimmo in.
So now that we're done with the defense, what do we do for the rest of the game?
I have no idea.
There's Rhys Hoskins, 0 for 4 last night. Top 10 in the National League in both home runs and runs batted in. And he takes a fastball upstairs for ball 1. Hoskins 65 extra base hits this year, most for a Philly since Jason Worth 8 years ago. And Matz misses with a changeup, and he's consistently high early in this game, 2-0.
Pause, pitch, purpose. Take a little pause, decide what pitch you want, and have a purpose with every pitch.
Hoskins pops one into shallow right. McNeil with the angle coming over. And that's the first out.
You know, McNeil likes pop-ups. I love that. You see a lot of infielders, and you can tell right away if they like pop-ups or don't like pop-ups. But playing on that shift, you see how he hustles. He loves to just go after him. Some infielders kind of half-step it over there and hoping that the right fielder at some point will call him off. McNeil, he wants to catch everything in the air.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now the unlikely number 3 hitter, Roman Quinn. And Mats makes him move his feet. Quinn making just his 20th start of the season. And the first time in his career he's ever batted third. His playing time's been limited by injuries. He's had only 91 at bats this year, but he's hitting .330, and he can run like the wind. Runner goes, pitches a strike. Plawecki's throw is not a good one. And it's a stolen base for Hernandez, his 19th of the year.
Well, 59 people have tried to steal on Kevin Plawecki. He's only thrown out 10. I can barely blame him for just about any. That's not a good throw. A better throw would have made it close.
Almost an amazing save by McNeil, who got a tag down just a shade too late.
But Hernandez has too much speed.
Well, there had not been even a stolen base attempt against Mats in his last 5 starts, but the Phillies running early.
1 foot on the grass. That's something you usually don't see from base stealers. They try to stay to the outside of the bag.
Quinn bounces the slider foul, 1-2. It's 26 steals against Mats, second only to his teammate Syndergaard.
I'm always amazed because Noah and Steven, after the first guy steals, which is every start, when the first guy steals, they're always like, oh yeah, they're going to try to steal a lot.
Syndergaard really dug in after they stole on him early in his last start. Did a good job slowing him down. 2 hopper for Rosario. Runner will hold, and Quinn is safe at first. Well, I told you he could fly, and now Rosario knows too.
And that's from the right side of the box. That is indefensible, Ahmed. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you with this one. You've got to have a sense of urgency when he's going. You put too much air under that ball. It's got to be as hard as you can throw it, as much as you got on it.
And the Mets are going to challenge the call, it would appear.
And he's out.
He's definitely out.
Oh,
I mean, it was.
Well, no, we shouldn't say that.
Well, yeah, that's true because McNeil looked like he was out too. That's Sean Barber, young umpire, who made the call at first base. So here we are.
It's going to be
the
the
first inning, and we have our second challenge.
It's going to be the Barber of Seville if things don't get better.
He's out by a substantial margin. Nice stretch by Dom, by the way, to help out Rosario, who did not make his 8th throw by any means.
You know, even if they call him out, you just have to know that he has such good speed that anytime you're coming in on the ball, you've got to throw it almost as hard as you can to get him at first base.
Tell me from a professional standpoint how these umpires feel.
Embarrassed.
And they do reverse the call, and Quinn is out. That's the second out of the inning. But I mean, they're standing on the headset knowing that they're about to get their call overturned. It's the second time in the first inning that they've been challenged, and the same umpire has been challenged both times. Probably got the first one wrong too, but this one he gets called out for having it wrong. I mean, how does that affect the way you do your job for the next 8 innings?
I think it's affected the way they do their job all the time now.
Here's Carlos Santana with a runner at second and 2 out.
Replay stinks in every sport. Every sport, not only this one.
Santana was on base 3 times last night with a single and 2 walks. Reached 101 walks for the season. First Philly to walk 100 times since Pat Burrell in 2008. But SOP for Santana, who walks 100 times a year. And Mats misses inside, 2 balls and a strike. The only part about replay in baseball that I liked was when they first put it in to review home runs.
I should say that home run is a good one. It's important. It's hard to see something sometimes 400 feet away.
And that's the thing that made the most sense, right? I mean, the calls that the umpires make from 3 feet away are one thing. The ones they make from hundreds of feet away are something else. Yeah. And it's something that's kind of unique to baseball in that regard.
I'll try to walk that back over the course of the next 8 innings. Stinks was a very strong word. I apologize, folks.
And Santana has drawn his 102nd walk of the year and the second of the first inning for Steven Matz.
It seems like you can say anything and forgotten by the next day. So hopefully that happens for me sometime.
It just depends if you say something more outrageous the next day.
Oh, well, that would be my issue. Yeah, that'll be an issue.
Now Aaron Altair getting the start in right field. Altair has had a few hits the last week, so in what has been a lost season for him, he's trying for a nice last couple of weeks. 6 hits in his last 11 at bats, and Matz misses inside for ball 1. Altair hitting just 189 for the year. Had the starting job in right field when the year began, and why not? He had a really good season last year. Hit 272, 19 home runs. But it has gone completely the other way for Altair this year. Hernandez at second, Santana at first with 2 out. And Altair with a half swing went around on the slider, and it's 1-2.
Kind of I don't know if it was supposed to be a slider, ended up being a high cutter, but effective.
1-2 coming. The curveball down 2-2.
Got the breaking ball, Jerry. I'm sure you've noticed that's morphed a little, hasn't it, over the course of this season, from a big roundhouse breaking ball to one that's sharper, faster, more velocity. I like it. Nice block by Plawecki.
Two out, 2 on, 2-2 to Altair. And again, Matz misses that inside corner. That's his bread and butter, and he has not been able to throw a strike in there yet.
It's bread and butter, and if his next progression will be able to throw that 3-2 pitch on the outside corner. He's not ready yet, but that'll be his next progression.
Runners go, and Altair flares one foul. So it's been a hard-working first inning for Matz. 24 pitches deep already and trying to find his way through. Steven over his last 5 starts, a 2.67 ERA. Trying to finish this season strong. Altair bounces another one foul. No consideration about innings limits for Matz. He's at 140 innings, so decent starts. This one and the next 2 will get him around 160 for the year.
That'll be good. That'll put him in line to 180 to 200, which is a normal year for 30+ starts a year.
And Altair takes up and away ball 4, and the bases are loaded on 3 walks. So Matz, who's averaged less than 3 walks per 9 innings, finds himself walking the ballpark early on, and he'll get a visit from Dave Island.
If you read lips there, he said to Plawecki, he said, "Was that up?" Because I didn't think it was up either. I thought it was a good high strike that could have been called. But Las Diaz was right. Steven and I were wrong. That ball was up in the strike zone. So Island trying to get him straight. He's 0 for 5 so far in first pitch strikes. He's got to try to get ahead here against Mr. Crawford.
So the Phillies with a bases loaded chance in the opening inning. J.P. Crawford came up with the bases loaded in the 5th inning last night against Zach Wheeler and pulled one over the first base bag for a 3-run triple. He'll get another bases loaded chance here. First pitch curveball in for a strike. Interesting that you've got Altair and Crawford hitting back-to-back in the lineup. That was their starting right fielder and their starting shortstop when the year began. Now they are guys who have been lost for most of the year. Crawford hits one down to third. Frazier knocks it down, still has time, and throws out Crawford to end the inning. So Matt's able to work around the 3 walks, and the Phillies leave him loaded. No score after 1. Todd Frazier leads off the second inning for New York against Aaron Nola, who struck out 3 in the first. And Todd takes it away for ball 1. Frazier 1 for 5 last night, 2 for 14 on this road trip. Frazier, Nimmo, and Smith for the Mets against Nola. He really is working much slower than we're accustomed to seeing him. Maybe it's just the contrast with Matt, so it looks like he's double parked.
But it looked like he was throwing slower before we got to see Matz, who was double parked. Can you double park on Patterson and Broad?
Well, you can't. That's why you have to pitch fast. I mean, if you leave your flashes on, maybe they'll leave you alone for a couple of beats. I mean, it's not like there's a huge crowd here, you know, soaking up all the parking.
That's right.
Demanding to get in. Three infielders on the left side against Frazier. And Nola strikes him out with a curveball. So Nola's gotten 4 outs, all via the strikeout. 1 down in the second. MLB.TV is now available at a lower price for $25.99. Watch every out-of-market regular season game. Plus, get a free subscription to MLB At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV to take advantage of this limited time offer. Here's Nimmo, 1 for 4 last night. He's got just 2 hits on this road trip, a double and a home run.
Notice that he has a chance not only to be over 400 on his on base, but some extra base hits coming down the stretch here might push his slugging over 500.
Right now he's at 396 and 496. And Nola quickly gets ahead of him 0-2.
That's the pitch that is very tough on left-handers. Throws it right at you, comes over the middle of the plate, kind of hip locks you.
hits high, 1-2. How do you get a 396 on base percentage? Well, 107 hits, 66 walks, and 21 times hit by a pitch. Most in Mets history and leading the National League. Why does he get hit by so many pitches? Well, Mickey Callaway said today, well, he really doesn't try to get out of the way. And that's, that's a strategy. And also, I would imagine if pitchers know that you won't get out of the way, it tends to lead them to leave the ball more out over the plate. And then maybe gets you more hits.
What it does is it makes you frustrated when you make a pretty good pitch inside and ends up a hit by pitch. It can make you very frustrated. There was a time, now it certainly wouldn't happen now, which I'm happy it doesn't. But there was a time, even before my time, if a guy liked to get hit by, not liked to get hit by pitches, but would get hit by pitches.
Stroked over the bag, and a nice play by Santana. He took a double away from Nimmo, and that's the second out.
It's interesting. They play Santana right on that line. There's no way he makes that play. Remember the triple by Crawford last night? That was by Dominic Smith. Ball was not as close to the line as that play, and Santana, that's where he was. Nimmo gets unlucky there. There was a time, a long time ago, before even my time, that if a guy got hit by a lot of pitches, when you got your shot, you would say, you like to get hit by pitches, huh? Try this one on for size.
You sure that didn't happen to Nimmo in Boston over the weekend?
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know. I don't think it's a kindler, gentler game now. Which
Not
is good.
always.
Not always. You're right.
Dominic Smith takes a curveball for a strike. I mean, it seems as though the decision to do those things is a little more haphazard than it used to be.
Yeah, well, I just think that, yeah, haphazard is part of it. It changed while I was playing. When I first played, you would come to the bench and a player would give you a little look, and the look was, hey, you better protect me. That's when you would go out and protect him. But by the time I finished, my manager would knock me on the shoulder and say, listen, this is what you're going to do with 2 outs in the second.
Oh, he was a control freak there.
I mean, it changed completely. It's like, really? Okay. Hopefully I get the 2 outs.
0-2 to Dominic. Takes a curveball that just missed. 1-2.
That was a pretty good pitch. You see Alfaro, he's good at snatching it from down to up. Tried to put that in the strike zone.
Could have easily been a strike.
Yep.
Miles Diaz said no. Smith has a life at 1-2. And Dom goes down on a curveball that was out of the strike zone. 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for Nola. No score in Philly. is that they didn't have room to put the entire name of the city. So it's PHILAD with the raised A.
What's the A for?
Well, it's for Alphia.
Alphia?
Scott Kingery leads off in the home second. Right? Philadelphia.
Yeah, but after the D is an E. I mean,
well, there should be an apostrophe in there somewhere, but maybe that didn't fit on the belly. There's the neon representation.
Maybe it's because it had a crack. I'm not giving it my full effort. Maybe that won't happen.
Well, it didn't have the crack
at
first.
Yeah, it did not. Did it come from France?
Everything came from France, right?
Yeah.
All that important stuff. Scott Kingery playing shortstop tonight. Getting 227 for the year. Getting a chance to bat in the second inning without being pinch hit for. That's a novelty for him. Gets this one out to right, and Bruce doesn't have to move an inch to make the catch one out. We kid, but Gabe Kapler did do that on Saturday. Batted for Kingery in the second inning before he had to turn to bat.
Well, that's a crusher.
Here's the Indeed player resume on Steven Matz. Last year an injury-plagued year, but he had nerve transposition surgery, and things have gone back in the right direction for him.
Yeah, I remember when he first came up in 15, he was a big part. Pitched, in fact, that fourth game against the Chicago Cubs. Didn't go 5, but was outstanding while he was in there. And then it's been back and forth, really, for Steven. And this year, I think the biggest thing I take from this year is that he should go home and say, hey, I can stay healthy. I can pitch 30-plus times in the major leagues.
Well, this is start number 28. He should have 2 more after that. And 30 starts will be a nice building block for him. Jorge Alfaro has done the majority of the catching for the Phillies this year. A very strong-armed catcher who's got some pop, but has struck out 134 times in 333 at-bats.
Still learning how behind the plate. He's a very good framer of pitches that we've seen already with Aaron Nola. But he's a big man, so he doesn't move as quick as sometimes you need when you get guys nowadays who come out of the bullpen and everyone throws 95 to 100 miles an hour.
That's finally gets a strike on that inside corner. Gets ahead of Alfaro 1-2. And Alfaro trying to slow Matz down. He's been working at a very rapid pace. And curveball outside. You were a pretty fast worker. When guys stepped out on you, did it have an impact?
I knew I was going too fast, so I would always step off the mound, walk around a little bit, and come back. I wasn't out there to work fast to rush hitters. That wasn't my intent.
Line the other way, and Alfaro's got a base hit. First hit against Matz, a 1-out single.
Sorry, Gary. Curveball in the strike zone. Nice hitting by Alfaro. I would say that every time I've seen him play, the best part of his game has been with 2 strikes, his ability to hit the ball the other way. And that was an example right there. I pitch fast because I could not throw strikes until I learned how to have a real good tempo, and the fast tempo worked better.
Nola fouls off the bunt attempt. By the way, the reason why you've been impressed by Alfaro, he came into the day with a 365 lifetime batting average against the Mets.
Oh, yeah.
So he's only improved that.
He's taken over Ramos' spot, who's his catching mate.
He seemed to be to share that attribute. Frazier crashing from third, and Nola takes a strike, and it's 0-2. Nola's got just 3 hits this year, 7 sacrifice bunts.
He's usually been a very good bunter. Now, when you're a pitcher and it's 0-2 and you've got the bunt put on, you know that you just got to make contact. You don't care about bunting the first or whatever. This is where a defense can turn 2 if they want to.
Especially with a very slow runner at first base with Alfaro. And, it's a lead pipe cinch that Nola's going to be bunting.
Yeah.
He is just not a guy who is proficient at swinging the bat.
So Frazier can crash. Matz is a very good defensive player. Take the strikeout, though.
First strikeout of the game for Matz as he gets Nola on the bunt, third strike. And that's the second out of the inning. Now Cesar Hernandez, who walked and stole a base in the first inning. There goes Alfaro. The throw by Plawecki, and Alfaro is safe. Well, Alfaro stole a base against the Mets earlier this year with Syndergaard on the mound, and now he takes a liberty against Matz.
In fact, I think that game was maybe, I don't know if it was here or in Williamsport, but I think Alfaro had 2 stolen bases in that game along with Carlos Santana.
Those were his only 2 stolen bases, and now he has his third, all against the Mets. And we said it that night, and I'll say it again. It's embarrassing when the guys who can't steal bases against you.
It just makes it so much more difficult. You're locked in a scoreless game, and you have a runner, even though it's 2 outs, in scoring position, who has no business being there.
Phillies have the second fewest stolen bases of any team in the National League, but they have run wild in some games against the Mets. 2 stolen bases in the first 2 innings tonight. So Matz, who had not been giving up steals lately, now is at 27 for the year.
You know, the Philadelphia Phillies have to find a place for Crawford and Kingery, and let's say they find a free agent. This Hernandez would be a great pickup for a good team, for any team, because he's had a down year. He's coming off a down year. His 2 years prior were spot on. He is an on-base machine. I mean, his only negative, maybe he strikes out too much, right? But he's had an injury, a couple injuries all season long to his legs, so it hasn't allowed him to be the kind of player he can be. He would be some addition.
3-2, and he checks his swing. Did he go? He did not. And that's ball 4, and that's the 4th walk given up by Matz in the first 2 innings.
Let's see where this pitch ends up. Plawecki catches it in the other batter's box. Yeah, it wasn't close. I didn't think he went with the swing, and I agree with Sean Barber at first base.
So that gives Rhys Hoskins a chance with 2 out and 2 on. Hoskins popped up on a 2-0 pitch his first time up. So Matz, who was able to leave him loaded in the first inning, has more traffic to contend with in the second. And a good changeup to start off Hoskins, 0-1. Second inning was Matz's most difficult in his last start. He gave up back-to-back home runs to Peter O'Brien and Isaac Galloway against the Marlins. Trying to get through the second inning unscathed tonight, and he gets ahead on Hoskins, 0-2.
Okay, he's worked really hard now to get ahead of Hoskins. Let's see how he works to put him away. You know, these walks and putting people on base have just have made Matz a 5-inning pitcher. He's more than that.
His 50th pitch of the night runs inside, and it's 1-2. Throw 50 pitches in the first 2 innings, you're lucky to get through 5.
That's right.
Four walks matches his season high. It's 1 shy of his career high. And the curveball hit deep to left center field. Conforto back in the gap and makes the catch to retire the side. So Matt's able to keep Hoskins in the ballpark, and he strands 2 more. No score after 2. Sam Darnold's performance in Sunday's loss, plus why playing on a short week may have its advantages. On Jets Game Plan, presented by Centenary University, tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. only on SNY. Is that the same Centenary University that Seth Lugo went to?
Yes.
The one in Louisiana?
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know. We'll have to find that out. Kevin Plawecki leads off in the third inning in a scoreless game and takes curveball for a strike.
You mean like the U in Miami, Ohio?
The Mets obviously brought along their rat from Boston. The rat that was making its way through the Fenway Park visitors dugout has found its way to Philadelphia, or at least a replica. I mean, Red Sox were playing with a rat skeleton.
Yes.
The Mets were chasing around a live rat, and now Reyes has a pet on his shoulder.
I thought Dominic Smith's tweets were the best about the rat. I thought it was great.
I didn't see what he said.
He said, in L.A., we don't have rats, man. And if you have rats in your house, you could get yourself a new house. I thought that was great.
Well, they're not knocking Fenway down because of a couple of rats. I can tell you that.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, there used to be rats at Shea, but they had cats to take care of that. Steven Matz on deck, and then Ahmed Rosario for the Mets in the third. And Plawecki bounces one foul, 2-2. Aaron Nola struck out 5 over the first 2 innings.
Nola has a real feel for how to pitch. On that 2-1 count, he gave it a lot of thought before he decided to use a 2-seam fastball instead of the 4-seam fastball. He's got a feel. He's got the physical gifts. He's got the makeup.
Plawecki drives one to left center. Cutting in is Hoskins to make the grab. 1 out. This ball hit to the outfield against Nola tonight.
I mean, it makes sense. A guy from Louisiana would have a great kind of feel and soul to his windup, but he reminds me, Nola, of, and I would only remember this because I grew up watching Dennis Eckersley as a starting pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. He reminds me of Eck when Eck was a kid. Threw a lot like this.
Here's Matz, who had a home run in his last start, the first of his career. So if he were able to hit a home run tonight, he'd be the first Met pitcher to hit home runs in back-to-back starts since Ron Darling.
Very nice. Do it, Steven. I need some company.
It's only happened twice in Mets history. Tom Seaver in 1972, and Ronnie did it in 1989. Matz laid down his first marker in that last start against Miami, and he got all of it.
Our producer said, here it is. I was like, oh my God, they've got the home run from 1989.
In the air, left field, Hoskins back on the warning track at the wall. It's out of here! Steven Matz does it! The third Met pitcher ever to homer in back-to-back starts. The first since Ron Darling in 1989, and the Mets go in front 1-0. Now they're going to have to dig your home runs out of the vault.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Steven Matz's first 2 big league home runs come in back-to-back starts, just like Ronnie's did.
I love that Steven has done it now in his 2 starts, his last 2 starts. He is the only offensive player for the Mets that's driven in any runs.
Well, the umpires are consulting. I'm not sure what they're consulting about. That was clearly a home run.
Well, I don't know if the rule has changed, but I found out something here a couple of games ago when I was here, a couple of weeks ago, as you see the hanging slider from Nola, that gate before the flowers,
it went over
that.
Yep.
So it's a home run. But that gate before the flowers is in play.
But the ball went over the gate and into the flower bed. So clearly that's a home run.
Yes, it is.
And they don't even require a video review. The umpires consulted each other, and that was sufficient to uphold the home run.
Way to go, Steven. Congratulations.
So Steven can go into full smile mode.
Hopefully the same thing didn't happen to you, Steven, that happened to me. The pitcher for the Reds that day, Norm Charlton. I would say that he had a few choice words for me all the way around the bases, screaming at the top of his lungs at me.
So then what happened?
Well, we took care of business all day.
But like the next at bat?
No, that was a game winner. That was
okay.
it, bro. That was it.
You were done.
I was done, and Norm was done.
Ahmed Rosario struck out his first time. So you've got 3 pitchers in Mets history who've hit home runs in back-to-back starts. Seaver, Darling, Matz.
No one's gone 3.
Not yet.
Okay.
But, you know,
yeah.
Stephen's got another start coming up.
That'd be great.
Probably go Sunday in Washington.
And you just don't know. Like, you have to assume in the pitching staff that Noah Syndergaard is going to hit the most home runs just because of the power that he has.
Rosario pops one up. Alfaro hoping for a play and gets right to the screen and makes a nice catch. Well done by Alfaro. That ball didn't have a lot of air under it, so he had to hustle over there and use the screen for support. And that's the second out.
And he also had to get past all the warm-up apparatus that is near the on-deck circle for the Mets and still makes the play against the netting.
It's fortunate he didn't trip over that lead pipe.
Yes. Outstanding play.
And that's a different play now, right? With
yeah.
the netting than it would be were that netting not extended that far.
Yeah, he would have probably made the same play at it, but he would have ended up in the, well, not the stands, the well there.
Well, he would have ended up like Michael Franco did the other day, flipping over the railing, and Franco hurt his shoulder and has been out ever since.
That's right. Or Tyler Austin, who was with the Twins, ended up falling into the photographer's booth.
Jeff McNeil had an infield hit his first time up. And tries to lay off, but he went around 1-1. McNeil had 3 hit games each of the last 2 games of the Mets series against the Phillies in New York, and then a 3-hit game last night. He's the first Met player ever to have 3 consecutive 3-hit games against the Phillies. And he's already got one in the bank tonight.
So Nola allowed 8 home runs in his first 27 starts. He's allowed 8 solo. 7 of them have been solo. 8 home runs in his last 3 starts.
3 plus this one. Yeah. 1-2 coming. And McNeil drives one down the line. Foul. DeGrom gets a little bit of support from his rotation mate Matz. Anything the Mets can do against Nola works in DeGrom's favor.
That's right.
And that's cracked into right field, and McNeil's got another multi-hit game. He is just a hit machine. 2 for 2 tonight.
Well, I know that all the pitchers are getting the same account, and that is that you should be able to throw the fastball with 2 strikes. Tried to go away, though. That ball was more the middle of the plate, so that's why he got hurt with it. Alfaro wanted it on the outside corner. The thing about Nola is he tries to control his movement by starting it in the middle and moving it toward the corners. That one never moved.
So now Conforto struck out looking his first time up. McNeil nearly got picked off in the first inning. Phillies challenged a call at first base. Looked like they might have had a case, but they did not get the call. So he should be a little more wary this time.
Wary, and with 2 outs, he should be closer to the bag. Let Conforto take his at bat. He's the hottest hitter you got.
Conforto already with 22 runs batted in September. It's not only the most of any major leaguer this September, but it's the most that Conforto's ever had in any calendar month. And we still have this game and 11 more to go. Could put up some incredible numbers by the end of this month. He takes it back to a curveball for a strike. I read something today that was really stunning to me. Through his entire major league career, Conforto's batting average in Mets wins is .325, and his batting average in Mets losses is .183. It's a 142-point spread. It's the largest in modern major league history, which means that Manfred tends to be the linchpin for his team. His good days are the Mets' good days. I mean, that's true of most middle of the order hitters, but it's more so for him than maybe for anybody who's ever played.
Yeah, usually not to that extreme.
The average spread is about 60 points between a hitter's average in wins, average in losses. His is 142.
I'd like to know what Cespedes' numbers have been as a Met, just to compare them.
Inside, Alfaro snap throw, and McNeil has to do some more diving back into first.
There's got to be some AAA teammates of Jeff McNeil that are watching this game that are saying, why are they paying so much attention to McNeil at first base?
He's got a little bit of speed, 5 steals in 6 tries. Two to Conforto.
Conforto swung over the top for one of the few changeups. I think the second one that Nola has thrown so far in this game.
Hasn't really needed that third weapon early on. His curveball's been so good.
Going to throw that real hard one that ends up in the dirt.
And Conforto goes down swinging to retire the side. 6 strikeouts for Nola, but Steven Matz put a charge into one. Joined elite company by homering in his 2nd straight start. And he's given the Mets a 1-0 lead in the 3rd in Philadelphia. When grounded out his first time up, Santana and Altair to follow. Phils have had a lot of traffic in the first 2 innings. They've left 5 on base, and Matz picks off the inside corner, 1-1. Steven threw 51 pitches in the first 2 innings, 4 walks, tying his season high. So you ask a question, Ronnie, we get you an answer.
Okay.
You asked about Cespedes and wins and losses for the Mets. 316 in wins, 238 in losses, 78-point spread.
Okay.
So more than average, but not nearly to Conforto's level.
That's great. Thank you very much.
And Quinn goes down on strikes. Good fastball by Matz for his second strikeout of the night. 1 out and nobody on. Justine Ward is our sideline reporter tonight. Let's check in with her. Justine.
Hey, Gary. Well, Jeff McNeil likes to pick Jay Bruce's brain as a veteran lefty, what he does against certain pitchers. And it paid off for McNeil last night in the top of the 9th against Hector Neris. Bruce told McNeil to look for the split finger changeup. He got it on a 3-2 count. McNeil hit an RBI single. So look for that dialogue to continue. It's actually something Pat Rosser encouraged. Gary?
Santana bounces one right over the bag. Bruce gets to it quickly and holds him to a single. Santana not expected to hit the ball the other way. Whole side of the field open, and he finds the open side of the field for the Phillies' second hit of the night.
Well, one, good hitting by Santana, and the experience of Bruce might have helped McNeil last night, but it was the hustle of Bruce on this play that kept it to a single.
Holding his former Cleveland Indians teammate to one base.
They won 22 in a row together last year.
They did. Here's Aaron Altair, who walked his first time up.
About this time of year.
So did the Mets manager. I think he was there too.
That's right.
Matz has already been victimized by 2 stolen bases tonight. So even with Santana the runner at first, he's going to keep an eye on him. He slings a fastball outside to Altair, 1-0.
So those little courtesy throws of Steven, although he feels as though it's helping and throwing the first, really don't bother the runner at all. Because of the courtesy of it all.
Well, I would think that a courtesy throw to first is only to set the stage for something a little more emphatic.
But he has nowhere to go. That the courtesy is where he stops right now. I would give a call, and I would try to pick Andy's brain and go to Texas and spend a couple of days with him and try to figure out how to get a great pickoff move.
Well, the problem is that, you know, Pettit, when he delivered to the plate, would hang that leg.
Yes.
And then proceed home, but Matz doesn't do that. He's got a more forward motion than Pettit did.
I think that Andy would be able to, within the foundation,
left it out to right, and Bruce is right there to retire Altair, 2 out.
Of how Steven does his job, he'd be able to find him a way to keep runners real close. I don't know if that's allowed under the Geneva Convention, though, the Yankee helping the Met thing. I don't know if that's allowed.
It's a really good question. I think we'd have to check the guidebook.
Okay.
Rule 42.634.
I see nothing.
Here's J.P. Crawford, and that's again with the soft toss to first. Crawford grounded out to third base with the bases loaded to end the first inning. And a check swing foul, 0-1. Mets quickly ahead on Crawford, 0-2. The 8th of August, the Phillies were 15 games over 500. They were in first place by a game and a half. Since then, they've gone 13-25 and find themselves just 3 games over 500 and in a desperation situation.
I like the symmetry of 8-18 after August 18th.
You know, when you look at the Braves not putting together a great stellar stretch and the Phillies fading and the Nationals doing what they've done this year as Matt strikes out Crawford to end the inning, it just gives you an idea of what was available to the Mets this year that they were unable to take advantage of. 1-0 Mets after 3. (2006). Who were the 3 pitchers who started for the Mets in their division series sweep of the Dodgers in '06? Remember that Pedro Martinez was hurt. El Duque was hurt.
I got it.
Jay Bruce leads off in the 4th inning. Jay struck out against Aaron Nola his first time up. And he takes a changeup down for ball 1. Bruce Frazier and Nimmo for the Mets in the 4th. The only run of this game coming on a Steven Matz home run. Stop us if you've heard that before. Matz homering in back-to-back starts. And the curveball misses 2-0. So our archivists in the truck have been searching for your 1989 home runs, Ronnie. So far, they've come up empty.
So if they can't find them, that means that they didn't happen, maybe.
No picks, didn't happen. I'm sure they can find the Rafael Belliard home runs from spring training.
I'm sure they can find plenty of home runs hit off me.
Fouls one back and it's 2-2. See, now I didn't know this, but there's a reason we ran that trivia question today. As Nola strikes out Bruce with a changeup, his 7th strikeout, and the reason is that this is the anniversary of the Mets clinching the division title in 2006.
On the 18th of September, Julie Donaldson, one of our early stars.
Remember how young they were? Reyes and Wright. He thought this is going to happen.
Chris Cotter didn't even
times.
want this job, and he's there under the champagne. Yeah, Wright and Reyes were so young. Delgado, Beltran, Cliff Floyd. The unsung hero for me was Jose Valentin all year. What a player he was.
Well, it was a walkover that year. They were clearly the best team in the division, maybe the best team in the National League, but didn't work out that way.
There's the September baseball, which is isn't our favorite, and then October baseball, which is a little different.
Ball's out of play, and it's 0-2 to Frazier. Well, again, losing 2 of their key starting pitchers going into the postseason ultimately had a big impact. And it pressed guys into roles that they really weren't expected to fulfill, and nobody bigger than Oliver Perez.
I mean, I'll never forget that catch by Andy. I mean, I still get goosebumps when I even think of it. And Oliver delivered that pitch, right, Scott Rowland?
He did, but he also pitched really well.
He did.
I mean, considering he was pitching Game 7 on 3 days rest, and he wasn't even supposed to be in the rotation. Frazier takes call 3rd strike, and Nola keeps racking up the Ks. That's 8 of them through the first 3 2/3.
It helped to pitch great by Andy catching that 3-run possible home run.
Yes, indeed. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Brandon Nimmo, who grounded out his first time up. A bigger issue were the home runs allowed by bullpen.
Yeah.
Both Billy Wagner and Aaron Heilman. I mean, everybody remembers Heilman giving up the home run to Yadi Molina in Game 7, but what about the one that Wagner gave up to So Taguchi in Game 2?
I mean, huge, because, you know, Taguchi was not a home run hitter.
Right.
And neither was Yadier in Flushing for a dozen years.
Grounded toward the hole past Hernandez and into right, a base hit for Nimmo. So Nimmo with a 2-out hit. The Mets' 4th of the night against Nola.
Well, Nimmo had one robbed, really, by Santana, who was playing on the line, took away a double or an extra base hit from him, and Hernandez couldn't corral this one in, although outstanding try.
So now Dom Smith with a runner at first and 2 out. Dom struck out his first time up. Nimmo was thrown out trying to steal 3rd last night. Not a bad spot to think about swiping one, though. Nola's given up 17 steals this year. And Smith hits one down the line. That's a fair ball. Bounces off the jutting stands. Nimmo racing to 3rd. He might be able to score. Hoskins trying to run it down. Nimmo coming home, and he will score on the double by Dom Smith. And it's 2-0 New York. Dom taking one the other way just inside the line, and it hit the stands and took a sharp right turn, and that enables Nimmo to score all the way from first base.
Well, great hitting by Dominic Smith, who gets a fastball and hits the chalk. And you can see it hits that fence and juts straight out. So Rhys Hoskins, who was going to the corner to try to cut it off, has the hustle to come in and get it. And Nimmo already is touching 3rd base by the time he picks it up. Because of that hustle with 2 outs, puts his head down, picks up Sherlock. And boy, I've said that Nimmo might not be in a race fast, But boy, around the bases, first to home, he's good.
So the Mets cash a 2-out run after Nola struck out the first 2 in the inning.
Picks up some chalk.
Blink. Fortunately for the Mets, it didn't touch a fan and it didn't touch the ball girl.
I thought it was going to touch the ball girl. That's why I thought it was going to be a dead ball.
I mean, that would have been an interesting call for the umpires because it's not like a ball that bounces into the stands. Ground rule double, you have to put the runner at third. If it's touched by a fan or by the ball girl, then it's up to the umpire's discretion where to place the runner.
When the ball would have hit her, it would have been impossible to score Nimmo, I believe. Good job, guys.
I think the bigger question is, if you're Hoskins, you played left field here all year, do you have to know that that ball's going to hit the stands there based on the way it landed and maybe make some accommodation to that rather than breaking hard toward the corner the way he did? I mean, it's a hard call, but he's played here all year.
I think that you know, he is learning the game, learning the outfield, but a ball from a left-handed hitter is going to have some left-handed tail on it. So it's more apt to not go in the corner and hit that jutting fan gate there. But boy, that's a hard one to call.
2-1 to Plawecki with Matz on deck. And now 3-1. So Hoskins breaking hard toward the corner as though it's going to go all the way down.
So his first thought is to get that angle to get down to the corner. But once it hits, he has to change lanes, and he's not the fastest of guys. So by the time he gets to the ball and picks it up, he's got a strong arm. But Nimmo's already rounded third.
Phillies will give intentional ball 4 without throwing a pitch to Plawecki after falling behind 3-1. And Matz will come up with 2 men on. What can he do for an encore? He's homered in each of his last 2 starts. Has any Met hit pitcher ever hit 3 in a 2-game span? The answer is no. Mets have had only 2 pitchers hit 2 in a game. Walt Terrell did it at Wrigley Field.
Fergie Jenkins.
Noah Syndergaard did it at Dodger Stadium.
Don't know. Should know, don't know.
I don't know either. Fergie Jenkins, that's pretty good.
Yeah, although
Fergie
was known for being, you know, like Robin Roberts was here, one of the great pitchers of his generation, gave up a lot of home runs because they threw a lot of strikes.
And Wall was a left-hand hitter, and he hit them both to left center.
Dumped them in the basket.
Wind was blowing out.
Yeah, of course.
Matz has pulled his 2 home runs, and so Nola keeps it away from him for ball 1. See, now there's a scouting report. This is what happens. I mean, there was a scouting report on Steven after his big league debut when he had that huge game against the Reds with 4 RBIs.
Well, the problem is that he hit a breaking pitch. It just wasn't a good breaking pitch from Nola.
His home run last week came against Sandy Alcantara. If I remember correctly, that was a fastball, wasn't it?
That was a fastball, and no one else on the Mets side could really figure out Alcantara, as he was outstanding for the Fish.
And that was a game the Mets was going to lose until Conforto and Frazier had back-to-back homers off Barraclough in the 9th. One and 1 to Matz. Throws through fastball 1-2. The Mets have got 2 now off Nola inside of 4 innings. That has ratcheted his ERA up slightly. Started the night at 2.42. He's now at 2.46. Every little bit helps for DeGrom. He was at 1.78 heading into his final 2 starts. Matz taps one on the right side for Hernandez, and that retires the side. But Dominic Smith's RBI double tacks on a run. Mets lead at 2-0 in the 4th. play the Marlins at 7:10 for Fan Appreciation Weekend. After the game, you can enjoy a fireworks show that will light up the Citi Field sky, presented by Verizon. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Yeah, they had some fireworks back in 1776 too.
Yeah, they did. The real kind.
Didn't necessarily light up the sky, but you know, Ben had some important things to say, and he made sure he was heard.
You'd have to wear a wig then. Okay.
Maybe not if I were in my younger mode.
There you go.
Steven Matz now with a 2-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the fourth. Lower third of the order for the Phillies: Kingery, Alfaro, and Nola. So Gabe Kapler's been very aggressive, especially the last few weeks, as the Phillies are getting more and more desperate for wins, about making changes relatively early in games. But he's also got his ace on the mound tonight, bidding for a potential Cy Young award. His team's down 2-0 in the fourth. Would he even consider batting for Nola in this inning?
You were asking baseball, a baseball question, and you're asking an analytics question. Which one do you want me to answer?
That's my point, is that you've got competing exigencies here, right?
Yeah.
You've got competing priorities. Curveball by Matz, and it's 0-2 to Kingery. I mean, there's nobody up in their bullpen, and clearly he's not going to bat for him, but you know he had to think about it. If it weren't Nola, he almost certainly would bat for him in this inning.
I
the
agree.
way he's been going.
I agree.
I might also add this: the Phillies today activated Aaron Loop, a relief pitcher, off the disabled list.
Left-hander.
And with that, the Phillies, and I've never heard of this happening before, the Phillies now have 40 active players on their roster. Now, you know the rosters expand to 40 every year, but I can't ever remember a team actually having 40 active players.
I mean, 2 rows of seats. I mean, that's very funny.
What do they have, 16 relievers now?
Yeah, 16.
Kingery goes down on strikes, and that's the 4th strikeout of the night for Matz. 1 out in the home 4th.
That's the 3rd strikeout on a breaking ball for Steven Matz tonight. I love that he has the one he can throw for a strike and the one that he can throw in the dirt. It's hard to say when a young pitcher is 5-11 that he's improving, but he is, folks, and it should set him up hopefully well for next year.
While the Phillies are trailing here, the Braves have gone in front of the Cardinals 1-0 in the 4th on a Ronald Acuna home run.
Who?
His 26th.
Never heard of him.
So
Does he hit home runs?
Here's the thing about Acuna. Okay, we've been talking about the Rookie of the Year race between he and Juan Soto. Is he now a candidate, Acuna, for MVP as well, with all the closeness of the race amongst all the MVP candidates?
He is a candidate, but he's come to the party a little late. I think there's a 1 and 1A group, and I think Javi Baez and Christian Yelich are in that one group, and then Ronald Acuna and others will be in that 1B group.
I think Yelich took a big step forward last night, doing something that nobody had ever done before. As Alfaro takes a big cut, and it's 0-2. His 2nd cycle in 3 weeks against the same team. Never been done before. 2 cycles against the same team in the same year. And Yelich's numbers the second half are just off the charts.
Well, we always knew that in Miami that Stanton was the slugger. I think there was a feeling that Ozuna could be the best all-around player, and that Yelich was going to be a guy that could fight for a batting championship, but would not really be a home run hitter. It's just a changing of the ballpark. That ballpark in Milwaukee allows him to go from that 19-20 home run guy to that 30 home run guy.
Hopes to have more fans in the ballpark too.
Yeah, it does.
Alfaro hits one out to right, and Bruce back astride and puts it away, 2 out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by FiOS, the best way to watch your Mets all season long. Get the 100% fiber optic network. Visit getfios.com.
I can confirm this, but I know, the 2 cycles. His first cycle he had 6 hits, both against the same team, Cincinnati, and his last cycle last night, I haven't confirmed it yet, came on an at bat where he had 1 pitch, Yeah, you are confirming
Yep.
it for me. One at bat where he had 2 pitches, one where he had 3, and one where he had 4.
So it's a cycle.
Oh, jeez.
We're in the middle of the diamond. McNeil to his right gets the nice hop, low throw, nice dig out by Smith, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Matz, his first of the night. He played 4 in Philadelphia. Nice scoop, 2-0 Mets. Streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Mets box score presented by Fios by Verizon. 2 more hits for Jeff McNeil. What else is new? And a home run for Steven Matz. There's nothing new there either. So it's all old hat.
We've got a small bench compared to most teams in the major leagues.
Mets have helped out their buddy Jacob deGrom by getting 2 runs in 4 innings against Aaron Nola, who will now start his 3rd time around the Mets batting order. So a game that we probably wouldn't even look at on the scoreboard tonight in Baltimore.
Yeah.
The Orioles are leading the Blue Jays 4-2, which is only of significance because the Orioles last night tied a record since they've been in Baltimore by losing their 107th game. 1988 Orioles, who started out the year 0-21, lost 107. Now they haven't set the franchise record yet. The St. Louis Browns, who were the progenitors of the Orioles, lost 111 in 1939. So they still have that on the horizon. But here's the other thing that happened last night for the Orioles. With their loss and Boston off, they fell 60 games out of first place. The first team to fall 60 games out of first place since the 1962 New York Mets, who finished 60.5 games out of first place that year. Rosario taps one slowly, and Crawford will let it roll, and wisely so. It goes foul. And the only reason the Mets were 60.5 games back was because the Dodgers and Giants in 1962 tied for first place, and they had to play a best-of-3 playoff. So when the Giants beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3, they picked up an extra half a game.
Half a year. It's only a small thing, but J.P. Crawford, as soon as that ball went foul, he had to brush it foul. Right. He let it keep rolling. Sometimes it'll hit a piece of dirt and roll and hit the bag. So as soon as it's foul before the bag, scoop it and push it foul. I know it's a small thing, but
you never know.
You never know.
Rosario's 0 for 2 tonight, struck out, fouled out to the catcher on a fine play by Alfaro. And Nola tries to dot the outside corner and misses 1-2. Jeff McNeil on deck, then Michael Conforto for the Mets in the 5th. Mets have 5 hits against Nola. who has walked 1. That was intentional and struck out 8 over the first 4 innings. Jams Rosario, and Ahmed fouls it off. You know how the Mets have stung the Phillies again this year, winning 11 of 17. Rosario's had a lot to do with that. He came into the night hitting .367 against the Phillies this year. Mets have loved to swing the bats here in recent years. Curveball fouled off.
That's a combination, close to home, small ballpark. Their pitching staff has not been aces until this year, you know, the past 3, 4, 5 years.
They were aces for a while.
They were.
They had Halladay and Hamels, Lee. And,
forget about Cliff Lee.
Yep. They had Roy Oswalt as part of that staff. Rosario goes down to the changeup, and that is strikeout number 9 for Nola. Gives him 210 strikeouts for the year.
That's a pitch where you don't usually see him throw against the right-hander, but he set it up. He threw a sinker in on the hands of Rosario the pitch before, and that ball came out of the hand the same way. So Rosario identifies it as a sinking fastball, but it was a changeup.
So 1 out and nobody on now. McNeil is already 2 for 2 in this game after 3 hits last night, up to .343 in his rookie season. Now you've been watching Jeff McNeil for almost 2 months. Is there any reason to think that there is some wart that we haven't seen yet?
You know, well, there's always a wart, and the one thing I haven't seen, and I don't want to see, because Mets fans don't want to see, I want to see when he does have that stretch, because every hitter has it, that 3 for 40, that stretch where they lose their way, how they come out of that is my first sign that if they're a perennial major league player or they're a guy that's going to come up and down. We haven't seen that because he's been red hot since he's been in the major league. So if you ask me what I don't like, there's nothing that I don't like about this young man.
I think I was thinking more in terms of, I mean, is there a pitch? Is there a location? Is there a hole there somewhere that pitchers haven't figured out yet? That's
a great question. I've tried in my own way to think how I would pitch McNeil, and I'm a little flustered. I don't know how I would go about getting him out, because I think he does a great job of doing a couple of things. One is he's a great first pitch hitter, and every pitcher wants to get ahead with the first pitch, but he's also a good bad ball hitter when the ball's out of the strike zone.
Right.
So he presents some difficulties.
He lays off a changeup out of the strike zone, 3-2. I mean, you look at his minor league numbers, and you know
he's always at 300.
Right. We've chronicled the fact that he was hurt most of the last 2 years. He had a hernia, he had a hip problem, but his lifetime batting average in the minors was .311 with a .380 on base percentage. So he always hit. It was just that he hit some home runs this year, which drew some people's attention.
I think that because of the injuries, he was overlooked this last couple of years. I think because of the home runs, he got people's attention. But I think because of the kind of hitter he was, I don't think he always fit in the mold of what they liked in the minor leagues to see. Guys taking pitches, working the count, going deep in the count. That's not who this young man is. He is a guy who's going to swing the bat.
Didn't really fit the organizational philosophy.
There you go.
Rolls that one out to second, and Hernandez makes the play on McNeil, and he's retired for the first time tonight. But again, on a pitch that a lot of people strike out on, he put it in play.
And we saw last night he got a base hit on a similar swing where he only had a half of a follow through. That's sort of what it was there. That's a pitcher's pitch.
It looked like he was playing cricket.
90% of the hitters in baseball take that pitch for strike 3. Both feet were in the air when he made contact. Right? Let's see. I think both feet were in the air when he made contact. I figured you saw that at the Kentucky Derby.
So 2 out and nobody on now. Conforto has been up twice and struck out both times. And the other piece about McNeil and why he may not have been as highly regarded is the feeling was he didn't really have a position.
That's right.
But I think he has already overperformed expectations as far as playing second base. Not that he looks like a Gold Glover, but he certainly looks adequate enough.
I think he has made himself in this quick stay in the major leagues into an average defensive player, and I think he was below average when he got here. So it tells you the kind of hard work he's put into. And don't forget, these shifts that are used by ball clubs, they not only are there to take hits away because they know where hitters are going to hit the ball, it also camouflages some weaknesses in their defensive players to cover a lot of ground. So I'm saying that works to his advantage.
Right.
You know, put him in the right place, more balls are going to be hit right at him.
Well, he made a play at Boston that most second basemen wouldn't dream of making. He does cover some ground. 1-2 coming. And Conforto fights it off.
He reminds me of a player that every team when I played 1,000 years ago now, every team had a couple of those guys.
Two to Conforto, and a soft tapper to the left side. It's Crawford, the third baseman, playing at shortstop, who throws him out. And Nola's got a 1-2-3 top of the 5th. Halfway through, 2-0 New York. Home 5th inning. Top of the batting order for the Phillies. Cesar Hernandez bluffing a bunt. Hernandez has walked his first 2 plate appearances. 2 of the 4 walks given up by Steven Matz. They all came in the first 2 innings. Matz throws a changeup for a strike, 1-1. Hernandez, Hoskins, and Quinn against Matz. He has himself a 2-0 lead. Half the runs coming on one swing of his bat.
Have you watched Matz now? He's working fast, but not as fast as he was in the first inning. This is more of his natural tempo.
Must have found a parking spot.
He should honestly watch the video and time it out. and try to get himself when he throws on the side to get that kind of rhythm and tempo. So he throws like that all the time.
Well, he is one of the fastest workers in baseball.
Yeah.
Grounded slowly. Rosario comes in to get it. One out. Well, we found something special for you, Ronnie.
You did. I didn't ask you to find this, to tell you the truth. This saw Floyd Yeomans when Floyd Yeomans went to the Philadelphia Phillies. He was with the Montreal Expos, and he threw almost 100 miles an hour, by the way. And then Norm Charlton, one of the great relievers for the Reds at his best. That was, I think, a 2-2 game, a 3-run bomb off Norm.
You one-handed that ball at Riverfront.
That looked like Todd Frazier hitting, didn't it?
That was outstanding.
I know. Jesus. I used to be all right in the day.
Charlton didn't look that angry, by the way.
Who did?
Charlton, he didn't look as
angry. I was very surprised. I know he said something to me. Maybe it was just down to first base, and I've, you know how it is. You get older and you harbor grudges.
Well, those two bombs in 1989 was the last time that a Met pitcher hit home runs in back-to-back starts until tonight.
Tell me this is not Todd Frazier's swing. One-handed, out front.
He didn't lunge quite as much as Todd. But that's great strength there, one-handing it out of the ballpark. That was Riverfront was a great home run.
Oh, boy. Especially when it got hot, the ball would stay in the air forever.
But you hit one at the Big Shea.
At the Big Shea. That was worth it. Into the picnic area, too, which was nice. Off Floyd Yeomans. In those days, I shouldn't say in those days. When he was traded to Philadelphia, he was about 3/4 the pitcher he was. Because when he was in Montreal for that short stay, he was one of the better pitchers in the National League.
Well, when he was coming up in the Mets organization, Yeomans was considered the next Dwight Gooden.
He was.
And didn't quite work out that way, but he was a huge prospect. Did you know what he had from his Mets days?
Yeah, I looked on the. We had an abacus that we used to keep in the dugout. I moved the numbers and moved the pedals around. Made sure
Well, your recollection was good about your Charlton home run. It was a 1-1 game.
Yeah.
Elster and Sasser were on base. 1-1 pitch, and your 3-run bomb made it 4-1.
And you know what's interesting about that game, and I might not be correct about this, but I think Davey pulled me after that. So I think I hit a 3-run home run. We go up 4-1. And I think Davey pulled me out of the game. He was like,
"But you were exhausted.
You've done your work today. Go sit down."
Had to be the right move.
Yeah, of course. It's in the book.
Well, he hasn't been wrong about anything yet, has he?
Not that I know of.
Roman Quinn on deck. Hoskins has popped up and flied out tonight. 2-2 for Mats. And he runs one inside, full count.
So as explained, the Roman Quinn is in the third spot because the way that they look at it in the war room with the Phillies, Hernandez leads off. Their best hitters, Rhys Hoskins, sit in the second spot, and then they turn over the lineup. So the third spot is not traditional like we used to think. It is just turning the lineup over again. So Quinn is the leadoff hitter after Hoskins.
3-2 changeup misses inside, and Hoskins draws a 1-out walk. That's 5 walks for Mats, which ties his career high. See how much more he has in the tank. Nobody up yet in the Mets bullpen.
That was a shame. That was a good pitch by Steven Matz. That could have went either way.
So here's Quinn, the second leadoff batter.
Yes, that's how it was explained to me today, because I had to ask when Roman Quinn came in the lineup. That was my first question. Why is he batting third? So I asked, and that was the answer I was given.
So far it hasn't worked out. He's grounded out and struck out. And hitting third for the first time in his career. Certainly would be a hard man to double up. With Hoskins at first and 1 out. Phillies have already stolen 2 bases tonight. Hoskins has 5 for the year. And Quinn hits it back and caught by Matz. It'll be a double play. Side retired.
Whoa.
Well, that's how you double them up. Matz with the incredible reaching behind the back catch of the line drive and turns it into 2. How do you do that? No eyes on the ball. Looked in that glove and there was that little pearl. That's getting fancy. And Hoskins was a dead duck. Have a night, Steven Matz. Homer, and now that. Jay Bruce leads off the 6th inning and swings and misses at the changeup from Aaron Nola. Bruce has been up twice, struck out both times. That's with a 2-0 lead as we start the 6th, thanks to the offensive and defensive heroics of Steven Matz, who's thrown 5 scoreless innings, hit a home run, made an incredible play on a line drive to turn a double play.
I've seen that play caught behind pitchers, left-handed pitchers, on the ground. I've never seen it caught in the air and turned into a double play. First time.
And the way that ball was hit and the way the Mets were positioned, if he doesn't catch that ball, it's probably a base hit.
It's probably out of the game. Maybe. I just have never seen it. I've seen it one hopped and maybe, you know, an out at first because he probably couldn't have gone to second by the time he got up. But right in the glove, double play, and Hoskins is, are you kidding me?
Great presence of mind on Steven's part, because how do you even know for sure that you caught it in the air?
I think you know it because you would feel if it hit dirt and then your glove. You would know that.
Just from the up hop.
Yeah.
Bruce lifts one to left and Hoskins moves back onto the warning track to reel it in for the out.
I mean, totally turned around, throws his glove behind him, and it just found leather. Just sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Also helps to be really athletic.
Yeah, he is so athletic. I bet you if they had baseball combine where all the Mets players had to go through these tests, I bet you he would test as well as anyone on the team. That's how good of an athlete he is. DeGrom would be the same.
Rosario.
Reyes, even at his advanced age, would probably be very good still. We keep the relief pitchers out of it. They're not allowed to.
Well, Gazelman, man.
Bill Gazelman, yeah,
He
that
was
would be the one.
heck
Yeah,
of a basketball player.
that's right.
He could probably dunk over everybody on this team.
I was talking on Sunday with the left-handed pitcher for the Diamondbacks, Patrick Corbin. All he wanted to talk about was basketball, no baseball.
He does 360 jams.
That's right.
Big time basketball player up in the Syracuse area, right?
Yep.
Frazier pops one foul, and it's 1-2.
He's put himself in quite a position as a free agent this upcoming season, although free agency was tossed on its ear last winter. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But a left-handed starting pitcher in probably the middle of his best years, he should do quite well.
It's been a disappointing finish to the year for Arizona, but they had themselves a fine season until September arrived. 4-12 this month, and that's pretty much sealed their fate. 5 games out. Frazier pops this one up behind second base. And Hernandez under it. 2 out.
Their bullpen ERA, Gary, in September is almost 8. And they've been using the same really couple of guys to throw, Archie Bradley and Boxberg, and it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, Bradley hasn't had nearly the year this year that he had last year. And that started early, but it's gotten worse late. 2 out and nobody on now. Nimmo, who had a base hit and scored a run in the 4th inning. Nola approaching 100 pitches for the night. No action as yet in the Philly bullpen. And a first pitch curveball down to Nimmo, 1-0. Both bullpens are quiet. Both the upper tier and the lower tier. You know, when they opened this ballpark, it was supposed to be the other way around. The Phillies bullpen was supposed to be on top, and the visitors bullpen was supposed to be on the bottom. Billy Wagner was with the Phillies then, saw the walkway above the upper bullpen where the fans can lean over.
That's right.
And said, nope, we're not doing that. We're switching them.
Nope.
And that's how the Phillies wound up on the bottom.
No one had better feel than Billy Wagner. He knew exactly what was going to happen.
He did not want like the idea of the fans leaning over at the Phillies bullpen. Let them do it to the visitors. Too high to Nimmo, and it's 3-0. But the Ivy geraniums look just wonderful.
They are beautiful.
Unfortunately, our audio guy in the booth is also a horticulture major. So we learned a lot last night. There's ball 4, and Nimmo's on with a 2-out walk. Second walk given up by Nola. And so Nimmo aboard twice tonight.
Trying to eke out one more out of Nola will probably be it for him, as they certainly have had to watch him as his innings mount.
Rick Kranitz out to talk to him as Pat Neshek gets up in the bullpen for the Phil. And Jerry Blevins starts to loosen for the Mets with the pitcher spot 2 batters away.
Which has no assurances that Jerry will end up in the game.
Well, he was up twice last night. Never made it into the game. It's going to be interesting next year to see if the Mets try and bring back Blevins.
But is he on the second year of the contract? Is done after this year?
Yeah, he's a free agent after this year. I mean, they found a nice piece in Daniel Zamora. I think Zamora certainly fits as a lefty specialist. The question is, who's the other lefty going to be? Is it going to be Blevins or somebody else who's not currently in the organization? Here's Dom Smith, who had the double to drive and a run his last time up. Got Nimmo home from first.
I'd like to talk to Jerry about reading certain books. Will that help? Will that be one of the factors, maybe, and then bringing back Blevins, you think?
I can almost guarantee you it won't.
Okay.
But it might have an effect on, your state of mind.
It will, certainly.
If you can't say, hello, Jerry, every day. hold by Nola, and Smith finally asked for time. Dom hit one right down the left field line that kicked up chalk, hit the jutting stands, and bounced at an awkward enough angle that Nimmo was able to score all the way from first base with the second Met run. And a first pitch curveball has him swinging over the top, and that one, that swing caught Alfaro.
That's the second time now that Dominic Smith on the follow through has hit Alfaro right on the top of the helmet. You take that hand off the bat can travel a long way.
Do you feel as though hitters should be responsible for their follow throughs?
I do. I mean, you just can't continue if you believe in the concussion code, protocol. You really believe in it. You've got to do something about it.
I mean, there's certain aspects of the catching position where you can only do so much, like foul balls.
Of course.
I mean, they can make masks better, which they have. They've changed the sliding rules at home plate to try and cut down on concussions. But it would seem to me that that's something that you could legislate, and the hitters would have to figure out how to keep the bat from hitting the catcher.
Well, the only reason he's able to hit the catcher is because he lets go of the bat with one hand. Chris Bryant, who just came back from shoulder surgery, he's trying to work so he doesn't, so his compromised shoulder will not be a problem. So he is now swinging with two hands, not letting go of the bat. So they certainly can learn to do that.
Well, there are plenty of hitters who don't let go with one hand.
There you go.
Carlos Beltran never did. Mike Piazza never did. That's hit toward the middle of the diamond. That'll go through for a base hit. Nimmo going first to third. Kingery trying to race him to the bag, but there's no play there anyway. And the Mets have runners at the corners with two down. It's one of those instances where, with the shift, the Phillies had to scramble around once that ball got through.
It's nice to see that Smith not only has hit a fastball the other way for a double, but now a changeup up the middle.
So there was nobody on the left side of the infield once Crawford went for that ball, and that's why Kingery had to chase Nimmo over to third base. There's Gabe Kapler, and that's going to be all for Nola. So he's out after 5 2/3, and what happens from here will be very much of interest to Jacob deGrom, because he got two runners on base. Nola's been charged with two, and he's responsible for two more. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. 2-0 Mets in the sixth. We'll be right back. Pat Neshek brought in to get the final out in the 6th.
And these are the kind of outs that you'll see Neshek get. He was saving games for a while, not doing that anymore. Here to get one out in the 6th against Plawecki.
And Las Diaz walking over to talk to Gabe Kapler. I don't know what that's all about. They have concern about Alfaro, perhaps, about after he got smacked in the head. That appeared to be initiated by Diaz. Was he showing concern for Alfaro?
He was.
Didn't seem to bother Gabe. So now Plawecki, who's flied out and been intentionally walked. Nimmo at third, Smith at first with 2 out. And the first pitch fastball away for ball 1 to Plawecki. Wilmer Flores is out on deck to bat for Steven Matz. If Plawecki keeps the inning going.
Pat Neshek was pitching for the Colorado Rockies last year, late in the season, out of their bullpen.
Do we think Flores is out there as a decoy or to actually pinch hit?
I think he is out there to pinch hit.
Levin's up in the bullpen. That's at 90 pitches for the night. That's outside, throw to first, and Smith goes diving back. Well, we may find out shortly because it's 3-0 now to Plawecki. The theory of the decoy is that you make them pitch to the 8-hitter, thinking that there'll be a hitter behind him rather than the pitcher. And that's ball 4. And now the bases are loaded, and Wilmer is indeed coming up. So Neshek throws 4 in a row out of the strike zone, and Wilmer has a chance to do some major damage here with the bases loaded and 2 out, batting for Matz. So Steven is done after 5 innings. They were entertaining innings. He didn't give up a run. He hit a home run. He caught a line drive behind his back that he turned into a double play, and he's in line for his 6th win of the year, despite walking 5 today.
This pitcher should be right up Wilmer's alley. Ball that starts in the middle kind of sinks down and in.
Wilmer's gotten very few at bats lately. His playing time has dried up, and he takes a slider for a strike. Wilmer's 1 for 4 in his career against Neshek. He's got Nimmo at third, Smith at second, and Plawecki at first with 2 down. And Wilmer gets one off the fist, a foul ball, and it's 0-2.
And Neshek is going to get you to try to fish for something away and off the plate. So if you're Wilmer, you're trying to look to go that way, up the middle or the right side.
And Wilmer fouls away the fastball. Every pitch, Neshek goes to the back of the mound, kicks at the scraper, does a few backward steps, climbs back up on the hill, pulls at his cap.
Makes me nervous just watching him. Presents the glove to the catcher.
And Wilmer goes down on the slider to end the inning. So Neshek strands 3. We go to the bottom of the 6th, 2-0 New York. now. But the Mets lead 2-0 here as Jerry Blevins takes over the pitching for the bottom of the 6th.
Hello, Jerry. This is going to be a more difficult time for Jerry Blevins here in the 6th. He'll be going through the heart of the order: Santana, Altair, and J.P. Crawford.
So Nola wound up giving up 2 runs over 5 2/3. His ERA goes up a couple of ticks to 2.44 from 2.42. And every little bit helps for Jacob deGrom, who now has that much larger of a lead in the National League ERA race. Carlos Santana has been on base twice, a walk and an opposite field single. And Blevins misses away. Ball and a strike. Drew Smith, Daniel Zamora, both up in the Mets bullpen. Change up off the plate, 2-1 to Santana. Cut by Santana on the fastball, 2-2.
Might not look like it on the gun, but there's been an uptick on Jerry's fastball, and I don't know whether he's throwing it better or because he's getting his breaking stuff over, it's making the fastball look a little like look like it has a little more on it.
Two coming, and Santana takes it wide, 3-2. So Matz, with his 5 scoreless innings, lowered his season ERA to 4.03. So he's got a chance to push that under 4 in his final 2 starts of the year. It would be a big thing for him.
Again, limited hits allowed by Mets pitchers, or Mets starting pitchers. That's a good thing.
Only 2 hits, but he did walk 5 tonight, which made his task that much tougher. Threw a lot of pitches the first 2 innings of the game. And Santana stopped the swing on the curveball, and he's on base yet again. 2 walks last night, a single and 2 walks tonight. Final game of this series tomorrow night. It starts an hour earlier, so you know, set your alarm. Make sure that you tune in on time.
That I'm up by 5 or up by 6.
Noah Syndergaard coming off a brilliant start at Fenway Park his last time out against Zach Eflin. So now Aaron Altair tying run at the plate in a 2-0 game. He's walked and flied out tonight, 0 for 1. And Jerry gets the curveball in for a strike, 0-1. Altair is 0 for 2 in his career against Blevins. And he's hit by the pitch. Curveball got him in the arm. And the Phillies have the first 2 men on in the 6th.
Well, it was said before that it was going to be a more difficult road for Blevins to hold here against the middle of the Phillies order, and he's put 2 on.
It was an arm that looked like a leg. Wilson Ramos is announced as the pinch hitter for J.P. Crawford. That brings Mickey Callaway out of the dugout, and he wants Drew Smith to come in and face Ramos. So Blevins faces 2, gives up a walk and a hit by pitch, and he will take his exit, and Smith will come on to try and bail him out. 2-0 Mets in the 6th. Getting anybody out.
Now, Smith has been thrown in some hot water here, but he's got the hitter. If he makes the pitches and get the ball on the ground, that he could get a double play here off Wilson Ramos.
Ramos pinch hitting for Crawford. First and second and nobody out. And a first pitch curve hit toward the middle, a base hit. Santana around third, heads home. The throw by Nimmo to the plate is cut off. Wilson Ramos with a pinch hit RBI single to cut the Mets lead in half. It's now 2-1.
Well, Ramos has produced from day one against the Mets. He's produced from day one as a Philadelphia Philly. Just hit that ball too hard up the middle.
Second time in his last 3 outings that Smith has given up a big hit on the first pitch he threw. It happened in Boston to Brock Holt, and now it happens with Wilson Ramos. Pedro Florimon will run for Ramos at first base. So now the Phillies have the tying run at third with nobody out. Scott Kingery due up, and Justin Moore is going to pinch hit. So Dave Kapler's rolling out his bench here in the 6th inning, sensing blood in the water.
Why wouldn't he? He's got 40 people available.
Moore appeared as a pinch hitter in last night's game and was hit by a pitch. Drew Smith greeted rudely by Wilson Ramos. Mets will keep their infield back at double play depth. They'll concede the tying run to try and get 2 outs. So Bohr is batting for Kingery. And after Crawford was taken out as well. Keep in mind that Asdrubal Cabrera has a bit of a calf problem, so they have to get a little creative filling out their infield. Michael Franco sitting out with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a calf problem. I thought maybe he had hit his foot on that foul tip yesterday. Oh, sorry, hit by pitch yesterday.
Moore fouls away a first pitch fastball, 0-1. So see who Gabe Kapler has available to roll out on the left side of his infield. Haven't taken both of his starters out now. Alfaro waiting on deck, then the pitcher's spot behind him. Moore cracks one to left field, headed toward the corner, and that ball one-hops the wall. Holter's in with the tying run. Florimon stops at third. Justin Bohr with a pinch hit RBI double to get this game even. It's 2-2. So the bench coming through for the Phillies. Ramos and Bohr with pinch hit RBIs.
Well, that didn't take long. Steven Matz with 5 effective innings, and here in the 6th, the 2 relievers have not been able to retire a batter. Played nicely by Conforto to stop the go-ahead run from coming in.
Both the runs charged to Jerry Blevins. Now 2nd and 3rd and nobody out as 4 straight Phillies have reached base to start this bottom of the 6th.
Gary, I was saying with a Bohr hitting there, Santana might move to 3rd, Bohr to 1st.
There you go. Still need a shortstop.
No, we'll worry about that later. I only have 1 cure, so I've got to go through the lineup roster here.
They can play Florimon at short. Curveball misses down to Alfaro, 1-0, but that's the least of the Mets' concerns right now. They just need an out, and they bring the infield in with 2nd and 3rd and nobody out.
Look at Rosario. Rosario probably playing 5 or 6 steps off the grass on the pull side.
Now Florimon with good speed at 3rd. Alfaro's 1 for 2 at a base hit to right field back in the 2nd. Lecky asking for time. Nick Williams has kind of come out on deck to pinch hit for the pitcher. And Alfaro takes a curveball at the top of the strike zone. It's 1-1. Brian Ramos up in the Phillies bullpen. Mets left the bases loaded in the top of the inning, looking to expand on their lead. Now that lead is gone, and the Phillies poised to try and take their first lead of the night. Fastball off the plate to Alfaro, 2-1. Anthony Swarzak joins Daniel Zamora in the Mets bullpen.
We showed it earlier. If it's not Lugo, Zellman, and some of the talented pitchers that were here before, it's a toss-up with the Mets bullpen.
Alfaro just got a piece of the curveball, and it's 2-2. Smith trying to dig in after giving up back-to-back hits, each of which has produced a run. Could really use a strikeout right now. Two coming, and a foul ball at the plate. Lost his helmet in the process. Colonian.
This breaking ball has not had a lot of sharpness so far. Drew Smith's breaking ball, I mean.
I think it would be harder to lose your helmet with that C-flap wrapping around your face.
Depends on what size you got on there. It looks like he's got plenty of room.
Again, the 2-2. Curveball hit deep to left. Forget that. That's way out of here. Jorge Alfaro with a 3-run homer to put the Phillies in front. A complete meltdown by the Mets bullpen. 5 batters faced, 5 runs home, and the Phillies lead at 5-2. 10th home run of the year for Jorge Alfaro.
Well, Smith does not have a lot of sharpness on that breaking ball, and they kept going to it. And he finally hung one to Alfaro, who didn't miss it.
And he knew it. 10th of the year. And the Met 2-0 lead is now a memory. It's 5-2 Philadelphia, and Jose Bautista will come up to pinch hit. Third pinch hitter of the inning used by Gabe Kapler. He's pushed the right button so far. And now Bautista flies one deep but foul.
3 pinch hitters and a pinch runner.
Santana walked to lead off the inning against Blevins, who then got ahead of Altair 0-2 and hit him with a pitch. Smith came in, and Ramos hit his first pitch up the middle for a base hit to drive in a run. Bohr then followed with an opposite field double to tie the game. And now Alfaro with a 3-run homer to put the Phillies in front. Still nobody out. And Bautista takes a borderline strike. 0-2. No decision for Steven Matz tonight. Nonetheless, it'll be a memorable night for him. Not sure whether his biggest takeaway will be the home run or the line drive that he caught behind his back, or on the other side of the scale, the 5 walks that cost him a chance to go deeper into the game.
Yeah, I think that, you know, pitchers, I mean, it's an added bonus to hit a home run or driving a couple of runs, but you know your job's on the mound and you feel responsible because you didn't go deeper into the game.
Ground ball into the shift. McNeil playing on the left side, and that finally is the first out of the inning. Took just 18 pitches for a 2-0 lead to turn into a 5-2 deficit.
Well, you know, the first pitch, the 3-2 pitch to Santana, Blevins threw a breaking ball. And it was a nasty breaking ball. Most hitters would swing at it, but Santana has over 100 walks for a reason. You have to really challenge him when you're on a 3-2 pitch because you don't want him to walk. That being said, the Altair hit by pitch when he was ahead of him probably made the whole inning.
Now Cesar Hernandez, who's walked twice and grounded out 0 for 1. Met pitchers have walked 6 tonight. One to Hernandez. So Gabe Kapler's used 4 players off his bench in this inning. For major parts of the season, National League teams have just 4 men on their bench. That's hit hard. Hernandez is on base for the 3rd time tonight. 4th hit against Drew Smith in a span of 5 batters. And that's going to be the last pitch he throws. So another rough night for Drew Smith coming out of the Mets bullpen. Rhys Hoskins is coming up, and Anthony Swarzak will come in to face him. 5-2 Phillies in the 6th. We'll be right back. Steven Matz, 5 scoreless innings on the mound. A home run for his 2nd straight start. And the pièce de résistance.
The Harry Houdini.
Well, everything went right while Matz was in the game. Everything's gone wrong since he left.
So true.
Anthony Swarzak will be the 3rd relief pitcher in this 6th inning. Phillies have scored 5 runs. Rhys Hoskins is the 8th man up. He's gone 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Hernandez at first with 1 out. And Swarzak gets slider in for a strike. Swarzak pitching for the first time since the doubleheader against the Marlins last Thursday. He went a hitless inning. Trying to work his way back from a multiplicity of injuries that have set back his season.
It's too late now. It's been a lost season for the veteran Swarzak, who was so good last year. Just could not get healthy enough all season long. Had the oblique injury to start. It took a couple of months for him to get it back to normal.
Well, he'll be back as part of the Mets bullpen next year, signed for next season. And the Mets will hope for better health from Swarzak that presumably would lead to better results. You start with Gesellman and Lugo and Swarzak, and you build the rest of your bullpen from there.
Yeah.
And then the question becomes, do you have to go outside to find yourself a closer? Not for nothing, but Craig Kimbrell's a free agent.
He's definitely not for nothing.
Very expensive. Hoskins fouls back the fastball.
Of the young right-handers I've seen so far, and they've had a lot of action considering the Mets season, I don't think that any of them are ready for the job yet, in my opinion.
No. Then the question is, would you move either Gazelman or Lugo into that job? Or would you be more inclined to leave them in the roles they were in this year and find a stud to pitch the ninth inning?
I like the role that Lugo's in. Maybe Gazelman might be a guy you could do that too, but he's got
Strike three called. Hoskins caught looking for the second out.
Sorry, Gary. He's got some great abilities to pitch 2+ innings also, or at least 2 innings.
So 2 out now. Roman Quinn. Last time we saw him, he was hitting that line drive back to the mound that Matz made that spectacular play on. He's the 9th man up in this inning. Quinn has gone 1 for 3 today. Takes a knee-high fastball for a strike.
I think if you envision yourself as being a championship team, you will think that you're going to get enough great starting pitching that's going to go along with Lugo and Gazelman. So you have to go out and get yourself a closer because every game is going to be vital.
Stop by Plawecki to keep Hernandez at first. Ball and a strike.
And I don't think it'll be Craig Kimbrell. It'll be
somebody will
other
have Craig Kimbrell.
Some other. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know where Craig Kimbrell would fit in nicely because of what has happened of late? Back home in Atlanta.
Well, I keep hearing that the Phillies are going to be spending a lot of dollars in the offseason.
They need some offense, though.
Harper, Machado.
Yes.
One of those guys.
Maybe both.
Pulled foul. I mean, it's hard to believe that one franchise would shell out the kind of dollars that would be required, not only in terms of average annual value, but the length of contract that those two guys are looking for.
It depends on how free agency goes this winter. You know, they are special cases because are they 25 or 26
they're
years
young.
old?
I mean, right. Yeah. They're not the 30+ garden variety free agents. They're guys who you might want to sign to 7-8 year contracts. And Quinn goes down on strikes, so Swarzak comes in and settles things down with back-to-back strikeouts. But the Phillies put up a 5 spot behind Alfaro's home run and lead it 5-2. Phillies put up a 5 spot in the 6th, use a lot of bench, so they've got to move some people around as we go to the 7th.
I'm glad you came back, Gary. There's no way I can handle this.
Rhys Hoskins moves from left field to first base. Pedro Florimon stays in the game at short. Carlos Santana moves from first to third. Aaron Altair moves from right to left. Jose Bautista stays in right. And Sir Anthony Dominguez is on to pitch. And now you're up to date. Feel like we're in Port St. Lucie.
Yes, right. Dominguez pitching last night's game. He's probably, I think he's one of their most effective relievers. The most effective reliever. I'll go out on the limb. There it is. There's the changes.
So who stayed put? Hernandez, Quinn, and Alfaro. That's it.
In today's world, do you memorize that or do you take a picture of it?
Well, it depends. Are you keeping score of the game? Are you noting it all in a little notebook? Is there a good app for keeping score?
There is a good app. I don't know what it is.
Rosario down on strikes to start the 7th inning.
But I know that Jim DeShays for the Chicago Cubs uses it. I watched him the other day when the Mets faced the Cubs, and it seems very good.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question that may sound judgmental, but it's not.
Okay.
It's really meant purely in terms of information.
I feel like I'm speaking to my dad when I was 6 years old. Okay, go ahead.
So Jim DeShays is in your role. He's
Yes.
a color guy, and
Yes.
the app works well enough for him.
Yes.
Is it a good enough app for a play-by-play guy?
I will be appless in this job. I will never go to the app. It has nothing to do with my age or any of that kind of stuff. I enjoy the writing down of stuff, and for me, the way my brain works is that if I write things down, it sticks in the gray matter.
I'm the same. But you still didn't answer my question. Here's the 0-2 to McNeil. And it's on the outside corner, and Dominguez with back-to-back strikeouts to start the 7th.
Ask it again. Again, I feel like I'm 6 years old, my dad again. I want to apologize before you even answer.
I'm saying the app is good enough for DeShays because
Yes.
he's a color guy.
Yeah, and he's one of the best.
Would it be good enough for a play-by-play guy?
Would it be good enough for a play-by-play guy? I would say absolutely not.
Okay.
No. Play-by-play guys, you have so much information in front of you, Gary, that it would be very difficult, I think, for the normal person to come here and look at all the stuff that you have here. Now, I know what it means.
No, you don't. You can't read my scorecard.
I can read your scorecard with these glasses on. I can read your scorecard because I have to sometimes.
I can barely read my scorecard.
When I'm not watching, I have to go to your scorecard sometimes. But there's so much stuff here that is innate from you, from your 30 years of experience, that this is hieroglyphics to some people. So there's no app that could cover this.
And that's a good thing. Check swing tapper. Dominguez takes care of Conforto. An absolutely dominant 1-2-3 inning for the Philly reliever. 7th inning stretch time. 5-2 Phillies. 2006. I got Glavin, Traxel, and Maine.
That's right. Yeah, I got that. That's my 2006 SNY brain can still go back that far. I got it. Maine started for El Duque in the first game.
Right. Of course, Pedro was out as well, so that's why I went down that way. Tyler Bachelor will be the 5th Met pitcher in this game.
Mets needed 3 pitchers in the 6th inning to give up 5 runs. Blevins faced 2 batters, base on ball and hit a batter. Smith got an out but gave up 3 runs, and Swarzak retired the 2 hitters he faced on strikeout.
Carlos Santana will turn around about left-handed for the first time tonight, and he takes the pitch low from Bachelor. Santana's been on base 3 times in a row with 2 walks and a single. He scored a run. Aaron Altair on deck, and then Pedro Florimon for the Phillies. Well, this is a night as that slider surprised Santana by being a strike as he was bailing out.
Late break, and the break was straight down.
Yeah. This is a night when all of Gabe Kapler's moves have paid off except for one thing, and it probably doesn't matter, but he can't get a win for Aaron Nola.
Yeah, if he had left him in to face Plawecki, and if he had retired Plawecki, well, you don't know what would have happened, but 5 runs were scored after that. 17-5 would have looked nice. 16-5 still looks good.
Instead, Pat Neshek came on, get the final out in the 6th, so he's pitcher of record on the long side, which just goes to prove that, you know, victories are what they are, especially for relievers. I mean, absolutely nothing.
So the Mets, it is the People's United Bank starting pitchers. So the Mets hitters helped a little.
Yeah.
Steven Matz helped a little, but Gabe Kapler helped the most.
Into the shift, McNeil with the diving knockdown, but has no play, and Santana's aboard again. Second hit of the night for Santana.
Santana's hitting the ball on the nose. What a night he's had. A couple of hits and a couple of walks. Nice try by McNeil to his right. Gets on top of that high ball from Bachelor. You know, you and I talk about analytics all the time, Gary, and how it can be really a real nice tool in a winter identifying players that you would like for your ball club.
Right.
That's certainly what happened with the Phillies and Carlos Santana.
Well, they were on the market when nobody else was early in the winter last year. Here's Altair, who's been on base twice with a walk and a hit batsman.
They gave him a 3-year contract when everyone else was still reading.
So they might have overspent, as it turned out, in terms of you know, the average annual value. They gave him $60 million for 3 years, but they got what they needed.
They got what they needed, and with Arrieta at only 3 years, they didn't take any of these contracts into the 5 or 6 year territory.
So they probably did exactly what they needed to do in the offseason in terms of their signings to put themselves in a position to contend maybe a little bit earlier than everybody expected. The question is whether they did the right thing at the trading deadline with the pieces they added, because the Phillies general manager Matt Klentak has had to answer a lot of questions over the last few weeks as the Phillies have faded about what has happened to his team since he brought in the reinforcements. Now, it may have been that this team was playing over their head anyway and would have faded nonetheless, but the question at least has been asked whether bringing all those pieces in from outside changed the chemistry of a team that was doing well.
Yeah, and I don't think a general manager could ever answer that question that you first posed. Is this team playing better than we thought they would, and that they're a year ahead of where they were going to be? Fans don't want to hear that. They want to hear, hey, you have a shot. What can you do now?
Altair lifts one to right center, and Bruce standing under it, 1 out.
But ultimately, for me, it was this is a game, and you're already probably behind if I'm saying this. This is a game where you want to acquire and have everyday young starting players. You look at the best teams in baseball; they got them all. So at some point, the people you develop, the J.P. Crawfords, the Aaron Altairs, they have to end up being really good players. They don't have to be the greatest players, but they have to be very good players. Both of those players were mediocre this year.
And you could probably put Nick Williams in that mix too, although he was acquired in trade.
Yes.
It's another young player who they're trying to work into the mix.
And Kingery, a second baseman who was forced to play third base, who was given the long contract. He didn't have the kind of offensive year that they thought he would either. So there's still evaluation for their young players for Matt Klentak and his brain trust.
Pedro Florimon batting for the first time, came on as a pinch runner in the 6th. And he takes inside from Bachelor, a ball and a strike. But what about the other piece of it? You've got a team that gets to the trading deadline, is enjoying a level of success. They're at first place in early August, and then they fade, coincidentally or not, after you've kind of changed the mix on the team, bringing in veteran players like Ramos and Cabrera and Bohr and Bautista.
Well, what I think is the tough thing is if you get those, and hopefully I'm not making light of the kind of players they are, because Bautista was one of the best power hitters in his prime. Cabrera had an amazing year working, but you know, they're not the higher echelon players. They're not the difference makers. They're not like the Dodgers going out and getting Manny Machado, even though Machado hasn't been great. What you end up doing is you take at-bats away from players and their development in a crucial situation.
Florimon goes down on strikes, and Bachelor has his first strikeout, 2 out.
And what I mean by that is that here's a September, and maybe not in tonight's game, but there's been September games where Bautista and Cabrera have gotten really meaningful, tough at-bats. And maybe they should get the at-bats. But that means Nick Williams, Altair, Crawford, and others will not get those at-bats. So when you get to September next year and you think your team is supposed to be a better team, there's an unknown on how Altair and Crawford and other young players are going to perform late in the season.
Now Nick Williams will pinch hit for the pitcher Dominguez, who's hitting in the number 7 spot. And he takes first pitch slider for a strike. Williams started the game last night in right field, went 1 for 4. Boy, Dominguez could not have been more dominant in his inning tonight. It's hard to know, right? Because you think back to the Mets in 2015 and the moves they made right at the trading deadline, where every move worked perfectly, whether it was Juan Uribe, Kelly Johnson, Cespedes, Tyler Clippard, Addison Reed, they all contributed.
And those are middle of the road kind of players.
Right.
Maybe Addison Reed.
Except for Cespedes.
Cespedes.
But every single move paid off.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just never know.
Well, you're trying to breathe some life into a lineup that wasn't scoring any runs.
Right, and I guess that's the point, is that team was underperforming, whereas this Phillies team was overperforming. 0-2 to Williams. And he goes down on strikes. Good inning for Tyler Bachelor. Gets a couple of strikeouts. We head to the 8th with the Mets down 5-2. Ross's house. See how the flag's coming along. Hi, Betsy.
Have you ever went there, Gary?
I have not.
I have not either.
But Betsy is still hard at work all these hundreds of years later. Still stitching that 13-star flag.
That's right, 13 stars.
I like the circular stars. It was a shame when they put so many states in the union that we had to go to rows.
You want to stay with the original
The circles
13?
were really nice. Maybe they should have gone to concentric circles.
You like the original 6 in the NHL? Is that you're one of those
No,
guys?
I'm not talking about the number. I'm talking about the shape.
Design.
The design of the stars as Tommy Hunter takes over the pitching for the 8th.
Hunter gave up the go ahead run last night on the base hit by Conforto.
Will face Jay Bruce, Todd Frazier, and Brandon Nimmo in the 8th inning tonight. Bruce is 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts and a fly ball, and trying to bunt his way on, but pops it foul back into the crowd.
Nice idea by Jay.
Especially with Santana playing third base.
Santana was his former teammate. Just told him to swing the bat. It's not fair. You know I'm not a third baseman.
I would try it again if I were Jay. Santana's paying him no mind about that bunt. Now he's down to the count 0-2. And now a quick message from City.
Think fast. It's your thing. What? Do what you want to do.
I can't tell you.
What a song that was.
You know they're from Cincinnati. And then Teaneck.
I don't believe it.
Cutter inside to Bruce, and it's 1-2. Mets 2 runs, 6 hits. The Phillies 5 runs and 7 hits. Phillies got all 5 of their runs in the 6th. After Steven Matz threw 5 scoreless innings and hit a home run. Bruce hits it off the end of the bat to center. Circling in is Quinn to get there. 1 out. So the Philly bullpen has yet to allow a hit. Neshek came on and walked his first batter, but then he struck out the only man to face him, Flores. And then Dominguez worked a 1-2-3 7th. And now Hunter's gotten the first out in the 8th. Here's Todd Frazier, who's 0 for 3, struck out twice and popped up. Tommy Hunter, who way back when began his career as a starting pitcher in Texas. Baltimore, Cubs, Indians, back to Baltimore, Tampa Bay last year. And now in his first year with the Phillies. And behind on Frazier, 2-0. Todd just 2 for 17 on this road trip. And now Hunter behind him, 3-0 with Brandon Nimmo waiting on deck. Phillies bullpen is quiet. They're counting on Hunter to get them through the 8th. And Frazier takes a strike, 3-1. Remember how we were telling you about how the Orioles were up 4-0 on the Blue Jays? They lost. 6-4 Toronto. That's 108 losses for Baltimore, the most they have ever had in Baltimore. So they're bearing down on that 111 set by the 1939 St. Louis Browns.
They don't have enough to get to 120, do they?
No. They have avoided that fate. They're now 43 and 108, so the most they could lose would be 119, just like the 2003 Tigers.
They've got some decisions to make. Last year, Buck Showalter's contract manager, and Dan Duquette, their general manager. Or after this kind of season, maybe no decisions to make.
Well, maybe they just have to schedule more games against New York teams.
Yeah, they did do well.
Did fine against the Mets and the Yankees. Frazier's on with a walk, and the Mets have a one-out base runner in the 8th. And that'll bring up Nimmo, who's already been on base twice tonight with a single and a walk. So Nimmo, with his single and walk tonight, has that on-base percentage up to .398. Frazier at first and 1 out, and Nimmo watches low, ball 1.
And Nimmo, when he goes home this winter to start his workouts, he should be proud of himself and the kind of year that he's had. Just remarkable.
It's a lot of pondering to do about how their outfield fits together next year. Conforto is the only guy you know is going to be an everyday starting player. Okay. Nimmo, you would suppose, would be, but where do you play him? You still have Bruce here. Juan Lagares comes back next year from the toe injury that knocked him out for the season. And Cespedes, at some point, you would expect, joins the mix as well.
You just don't know when.
Right.
So you can't. To me, Cespedes, you don't even think about. Cespedes will be that great acquisition that you get in the middle of the season. That's
so
what I want to think
about. The question then becomes, does Nimmo become a center fielder? Or is he a corner guy, in which case Lagares plays center? Or do you want to go out and get a bat to add to your lineup?
I would like a bat in the infield that you can add to your lineup. That way Nimmo can pay. If you're going to use Bruce at first, you can use Nimmo at right and Lagares in center. That way Lagares can play every day if he stays uninjured. Because I don't believe Nimmo's an everyday center fielder. That's Hector Neris warming up.
1-2 coming. And that's too high, 2-2. But if you're adding a bat in the infield, where does that bat play? Got Frazier signed for next year to play third base. Do you supplant him by bringing in a big bat at third base? Are you sold on McNeil at second base? It's a matter of jigsawing those parts together and making sure that you don't hurt the defense in the process, because I believe in Lagares as the center fielder as well. Nimmo down on strikes for the second out.
The other thing you could do is you could decide to go all defense and maybe make a trade for one of the better defensive catchers in all of baseball and try that way. So you're so strong up the middle.
2 out, Frazier at first, and now Dominic Smith, who's got 2 hits tonight. He doubled in a run in the 4th, singled to center field in the 6th. So he's got his 2 base hits down the left field line and up the middle. And the Phillies are still playing a full shift against him, as though he were a dead pull hitter. And now even more so with Santana moving to a shortstop spot, leaving the whole left side open. And Dom grounds one into the shift. Florimone throws him out. That's a 6-3 put out to end the inning. A walk in, 1 left to the bottom of the 8th. 5-2 Philly. 8th. Jordan Hicks in the game again. Jose Peraza homered early for the Reds. Michael Lorenzen went 4 scoreless innings for them, and they lead the Brewers 3-1. The Brewers 2.5 behind the Cubs going into the 9th. Washington leading Miami. The Cubs are up 2-0 on Arizona. That game's in the 2nd in the desert. Jacob Rhame will pitch the bottom of the 8th for New York.
Javi Baez hit his 33rd home run to put the Cubs up. If you're looking for a player who's underrated this year, it used to be his third baseman, Eugenio Suarez. Look up Peraza's numbers as a shortstop this year for Cincinnati. You'll be blown away.
Jorge Alfaro has the big hit for the Phillies. Tie game, 6th inning. He launched a 3-run homer to untie it, and the Phillies have been up 5-2 ever since. He's also got a base hit and a stolen base, so he's 2 for 3. Facing Rhame, who is the 6th Met pitcher of the night. Jacob last pitched in Boston over the weekend.
Hanging breaking ball, middle of the plate, didn't miss it. The difference in this game.
It was Alfaro's 10th home run of the year. Jose Bautista sitting in the 9th spot. He's on deck, and then Cesar Hernandez against Rhame.
Jacob 10 Rhame. Back and forth from Las Vegas 10 times.
Well, the good news is that if he goes back and forth 10 times next year, he will not have to travel quite as far, as Alfaro gets drilled. And then on the carom, Plawecki got hit. It was a double shot. So we might see both teams' trainers come out. Instead, it's only one. Bing, bong.
Wow. Got him right on the forearm, and then right off Plawecki's mask. There was a loser in that musical chairs for AAA, wasn't there?
Exactly. So the Mets next year will have their AAA team in Syracuse, and that's a great move for them. Obviously, much closer than Las Vegas. And every 2 years, the AAA teams have this game of musical chairs, and there's always a team that gets stuck someplace they don't want to go. And this year, the award goes to the Washington Nationals,
who were in Syracuse.
They were in Syracuse. The Mets bought the team, so they had to find a new spot. They were hoping to land in Nashville. Instead, they get stuck in Fresno, which is even further away and has fewer flights than Las Vegas.
Right.
So that could be a huge competitive advantage for the Mets next year in terms of their ability to move players back and forth between the majors and AAA, and the Nationals' inability to do the same.
Yeah, Fresno, you got to go through LA at some point.
I mean, at least Vegas, as far away as it was, as Bautista cracks one to left, Conforto though moves back to grab it, and that's one out. At least there were a lot of flights, a lot of non-stop flights from Las Vegas to New York, and you know, a lot of flights in the middle of the night.
A lot of people sleeping on those flights.
Exactly right. The Adam Wilk flight, we call it.
That's right.
Remember Adam Wilk? He took the red eye. He arrived in the morning. They stuck him in the game as a starting pitcher. The day that Harvey didn't was suspended.
I will never forget Adam Wilk's name as long as I live, just because of what happened to that young man, having to travel all night and getting the start.
Here's Cesar Hernandez on base 3 times tonight with 2 walks and a single. Hey, you know, Geico Sports Night's coming up tonight, as it does every night right here on SNY. It's after the post game. They blaming Eli again?
Well, that's where it usually goes, is to the quarterback.
He's had a pretty good career, right?
Outstanding.
So I've heard.
That's what have you done for me today, though. You know how that sports stuff works.
Don't they have a new coach? How come they're not blaming him? Honeymoon period?
I don't want to say. I don't even want to say it. Let's just say that I'm not going to be paying attention to the NFL this season.
Okay, so
yeah.
you're with me now.
Oh, am I? Well, I didn't know you were there.
Oh, I've been there for a couple of years.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm not doing it because of you. I'm just doing it because of
So you're not hopping on my bandwagon.
No.
You have your own particular interests at heart.
And listen, I learned more about sports playing football than I did playing baseball. Football set me up for anything I ever accomplished in baseball because of the nature of who taught me and what I learned, and the competitive part of it. All of that was instrumental.
Well, let me ask you this question. Popped up on the left side. Rosario with the angle toward the line, and Ahmed goes together with Frazier, who makes the catch. Looked like it was Ahmed's ball all the way, but Frazier stayed with it and hung on for the second out.
Having some fun over it, but I think you're right. I think Rosario was yelling, and I think he had it. I just think at that point Frazier was in position and didn't want to duck out of the way.
Well, it's definitely the shortstop's ball. He's got the better angle.
Yeah.
So my question, let's see if we can hear them.
Well, you didn't really hear enough.
Not enough.
Yep.
I mean, there's not a lot of people in the stands, so you should be able to hear them. 2 out. Here's Reese Hoskins. So my question to you is, you have a 2-year-old son.
Yeah, 27, 2 years and 7 months.
Okay. When he gets old enough, would you even consider letting him play football?
Absolutely not.
There we go. And that's the problem that football is going to have going forward. I mean, the participation levels are dropping precipitously as we learn more and more about the concussion issue. It's the CTE and everything associated with it. Hoskins is 0 for 3 and a walk.
You know me as well as anyone. We sit here all the time together and all of that, and you know my personality. I had a concussion, a few in high school when I was a football player, and I remember not waking up for school in the right time and not getting to school for a big test on the day I was supposed to take it. That's how your brain can get scrambled. Mine, luckily, was just for that day. Well, who knows? As I get older, we'll see.
I think, all over this country, parents are making those same kinds of realizations, even if they did play football. Hoskins goes down on strikes. Rame has his first strikeout, and we head to the 9th in Philadelphia with the Mets 3 runs in arrears. All's well that ends well. We go to the 9th inning. Mets down 5-2. And if you want evidence of Ronnie's football pass, there it is.
I want to tell you that this is the 3rd time I've been on the broadcast with old pictures and bad hair. We can no longer have to do that the rest of September. But that was taken at the Yale Bowl when I was 17 years old.
Those were some spiffy cleats you were wearing, by the way. Were those Pumas?
Pumas, just starting to shave, bad hair. Almost every shot I have bad hair.
Kevin Plawecki leads off the 9th against Hector Neris, who goes for the save.
Well, Neris last night didn't last very long. Fastball throws at about 95. His out pitch, of course, is that good split finger. It comes from day to day.
Faced 4 batters last night, retired only 1, gave up a walk and 2 singles. And then left the game, and Michael Conforto hit a 3-run homer off Austin Davis that cost Neris a couple of runs. 0-2 to Plawecki leading off the 9th, and he goes down swinging on the fastball. 1 man down. Let's see what's coming up on WB Mason post-game live check-in with Eamon McEnany and Nelson Figueroa, guys. All right, Eamon, and now it's Austin Jackson to pinch hit for the Mets. Jackson started last night in center field, went 1 for 4, had an RBI double. And he takes a fastball for a strike from Neris. Aaron Nola went 5 2/3, allowed 2 runs, 6 hits. His ERA ticked up from 2.42 to 2.44. Pat Neshek got 1 out, and he's in line for the win. Sir Anthony Dominguez and Tommy Hunter each with a hitless inning. And now Neris trying to finish it off, and he's ahead on Jackson 0-2. Ahmed Rosario waiting on deck. It's got a run in the 3rd on a Steven Matz home run. Becoming only the 3rd Met pitcher ever to homer in back-to-back starts, and they added a run in the 4th. Had a 2-0 lead, which went away in a hurry in the 6th. Jackson fouls one away. Mets have had just 1 hit since the 4th inning. Cardinals now lead the Braves 6-1 in the 8th, so it looks like the Phillies will get a little help tonight. And if they win, they might be able to pull within 5.5 of the Braves. And Jackson down on strikes. So back-to-back strikeouts for Neris, and he gets both of them with the fastball.
Yeah, more fastballs than Neris using in this game. I think the Mets are trying to sit on that split finger, and they're not getting it. So Neris is throwing the ball right by Plawecki and Jackson.
And thus the Mets are down to their final out of the night with Ahmed Rosario coming up. It's been a rough night at the plate for Ahmed, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. He goes after the splitter and fouls it off. 0-1.
That's been struck out 15 times in this game tonight.
Mets will have Noah Syndergaard on the mound tomorrow night against Zach Eflin. Remember, the game starts an hour earlier, 6:05. Pre-game coverage at 5:30 tomorrow night on SNY. And Rosario with a late reaction to that pitch. A ball and a strike. Looks like he didn't see it well.
Yeah, late reaction. Watch his hand come up. Never want to do this. You end up breaking your hand. See how he takes that hand off the bat? That was too late, though.
Nice splitter that induces a swing and miss, and the Mets are down to their final strike. Up and away, 2-2. If Rosario can keep it going, Jeff McNeil would be next. There's the score in Atlanta. So the Braves' magic number for the moment stays at 7. 2-2. Bounce to the right side. Easy hop. Grabbed by Hoskins. And the Phillies even up the series. A 5-run 6th inning. Capped by the Jorge Alfaro 3-run homer. The difference in this game after Steven Matz was the story for the first 5. And the Phillies, who are desperate for every possible victory, get one tonight. They win 5-2.
Well, the big difference after Matz left the ball game was the walk and the hit by pitch by Blevins when he came in. And once Drew Smith came in, that's when Gabe Kapler really went to his 40-man roster. He brought in Ramos to hit. He got a base hit. Bohr got a base hit. And Bautista came in also in that inning. Florimon pinch ran. So he went to everything he could in that inning, and it paid off.
Game summary presented by FiOS by Verizon. Mets with their 81st loss, guaranteeing they will not have a winning season this year. Steven Matz, though, 5 scoreless innings, homered for his 2nd straight start. But he gets a no decision tonight, as does Aaron Nola, whose ERA goes up a couple of ticks as the Phillies win it 5-2. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by FiOS, the best way to watch your Mets all season long. Get the 100% fiber optic network. Visit getfios.com. By Hyundai. At Hyundai, the longer you look, the more there is to like. And right now, there's a lot to see at your Hyundai dealer. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. And by Budweiser, the legendary lager for legendary moments. Final score tonight, the Phillies 5 and the Mets 2. Rubber game of the series tomorrow night. Noah Syndergaard on the mound for the Mets. Our coverage begins at 5:30 tomorrow night. First pitch 6:05 right here on SNY. Now for Ron Darling, Justine Ward, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen in Philadelphia. Time for WB Mason Post Game Live. Let's join Eamon McEnany and Nelson Figueroa in the studio. Guys.